On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, Matt and Nick return and one of them is a bit broken, but that won't stop the SWTS train from leaving the station today. The dudes will be talking all things broken body parts and of course Ahsoka, which has gotten a plethora of updates since the homies' last broadcast. In addition to the official Ahsoka dumps, these diehards will also lay down a few things they hope to see when the series debuts next week. Of course, the show will end with the question of the week responses and the latest round of top 5 Star Wars fan-featured artists. I think I'm dying. Punch it, Chewie.
Hey now, everybody, I can't yell too loud because I think I might have a few ribs floating around my heart, at least my lungs. Welcome back to the Star Wars Time Show. Yay! If you're here on the live stream, we'd love for you to join youtube.com 5 p East Tuesdays at Star Wars Time Show. All right. So if you are here, you see a nice pretty graphic of a skeleton. And that's my broken clavicle. Yes. Not even a year after healing a broken leg, I have re-broke my body using the one wheel. So I'm sure some of you are going to give me some shit like the family did and some friends, and that's fine. Unlike a lot of you that are in your 40s, 50s, 60s, I do not live a sedentary life. I'm an active individual. And I was kicking ass, having a great time down in Hilton Head, riding it on the nice, flat, sandy beaches down there. And I was like, you know what? It's 90 degrees. It's nighttime. The moon's shining. Let's go do this at night. It's got headlights. I had headlights. And sure enough, as I was coming home to greet the kid about 10 yards away, someone failed to fill in their hole from earlier in the day on the beach, which if you're a beachgoer, you know that's a cardinal sin. It's both for the habitat and for humans. You can't dig holes and then just fucking leave them there. Otherwise, assholes like me end up in them breaking their fucking bodies. So, yeah, broken clavicle, if you've ever had one, they fucking kill. As you can see on the screen here, I mean, it's split in two. Luckily, it did not have to, no surgery required. So, I'm actually in pretty good spirits outside of losing my left arm for the next 6 to 8 weeks. But yeah. There you go. Did it again. I have not sold the one wheel yet. We're still friends, but we're definitely in a precarious part of our relationship right now. I really just like listen. I mean, bad choice probably doing it late at night. I believe it or not, I wasn't drinking, wasn't on drugs. I was as fucking sober as it gets. It's just one of those fucking things in life, and those of you that have listened for a long time, you may start to realize why I'm a glass half empty individual, because I get fucked in the luck department. So it is what it is. But yeah, I ate it hard. And this is the best part. I might have been going 3 or 5 miles an hour. Like I was winding down and my light caught the hole and I was like, uh-oh, this isn't going to be good. And sure as shit, as soon as I hit it, it's just board stuck. Little fat body keeps flying like, woo, right onto the left shoulder. Got up. I was like, yep, I broke something. So here we go.
I mean, to put things in perspective for you, though, I mean, it's great that you don't have to have surgery. I hope good
so. Though we got Jode21 in here saying theirs was like that for a month, then they had to get surgery. So I'm like, fuck.
So What I was going to say is my dad, when he was young, my dad is actually missing half of his clavicle on his left side.
Nice.
Because he broke it and they just removed the broken bone and they just left it with no, like he doesn't have a clavicle from like where it meets like your neck.
Like has his
halfway down.
Has his arm and chest and shoulder been fucked up then the rest of his life?
Oh no. I mean, like he had that before I was even born, and like, you know, we threw the football our entire, you know, like all of my childhood, we threw baseballs around. Like he was, you know, taught me how to play baseball, taught me how to play all the sports, play basketball, football, baseball, all of them. He fishes all the time. So
cut mine the fuck out. But yeah, it was a clean split. Like I think if it would have poked through the skin, we probably would have been having some, you know, rods sticking through my chest right now. So hopefully, or luckily that was not the case. But yeah, and hopefully, unlike Jode 21, this is it. But I feel for you people that live in the South with your the medical systems down there, because that's where I was at, and it was a fucking joke. It was like essentially in the ER for 4 hours, and at the end of 4 hours, a lady, the doctor that was in the ER came out, took my pulse, said, "What hand is your dominant hand?" I said, "Right." She goes, "Good. You broke your collarbone." I was like, "Okay, so what?" She's like, "Go see a doctor when you get home." I was like, what the fuck is this place? You know, no meds when I got there. I mean, I was sitting there for 4 hours like dying. Just, you know, give me some fucking Oxy or a Percocet, mix in some of that acetaminophen. But yeah, they didn't tell me shit. They didn't let me see the x-rays. They didn't tell me the prognosis outside of it's broke. They didn't say, yeah, you're fucked. Don't do this. Don't do that. And it's scary what happens down the South. So thank God I live next to Ohio State University. Hit up my doctors yesterday and hoping to be on the road to recovery. Although Jode's got my head all fucked up now. Yeah, I don't. It's all like my ribs are protruding oddly, and I think it's because like the way my arm and shoulder blade has to rest. Who knows? Doctor's like, if you can breathe and it doesn't hurt, your ribs probably aren't broken. I was like, I don't think they feel broken. They just feel slightly displaced. He's like, well, that doesn't work. I was like, okay, well, I trust you, but I can literally feel my left rib cage poking out. Like it's noticeably poking out compared to the right side. Woo! Yeah! Here's to living the bored life. Fuck. It was a fun little trip too. I mean, I was working. I'd work in the mornings and then hang in the afternoon. But if you know, Nick's been dealing with the weather. I mean, South Carolina is like fucking 90s and sunny all week.
Oh, dude, we haven't had a day where the high wasn't over 105 in over a month.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of people will talk about, oh, like seasonal affective disorder, like you know, stuff like that for winters. That's what it's like right now in Texas for summers, because nobody wants to go outside because it's fucking over 100 degrees from basically 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. when the sun goes down. Like we have this backyard that we were like so excited to use.
You're just frying eggs out there, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like the grass is all dead. Our dog doesn't want to be outside for more than 2 minutes at a time because she's fucking dying.
Hey, Nick, you take a shit out here, motherfucker. It ain't comfortable.
Yeah. Like it's been like, you know, it really has been pretty terrible in terms of just like the heat and like the effect that has on like your ability to just do regular ass
you know
things.
what?
Like,
you have a point. And mine's kind of the opposite. You know, I'm up here in the Midwest where it mostly blows, but for the most part, I think I'm safe from hardcore climate disasters for at least 5 years. But it was weird, man. I get down south, Hilton Head, and it's like the heat just changed my body. I became like a 25-year-old man. All I wanted to do was fuck. Like I have not had a strong libido for like the past 8 months, probably from the last surgery and all the pills and rehab and all that. And, you know, being older, 43, but I just wasn't feeling like a man. You know, I wasn't feeling like a man. I get down there, feel a little heat, and my wife was essentially spraying like Raid at me, like, get away. Keep that fucking thing in your pants, you freak. So, yeah, it was great until Wednesday night when I fucking smashed my shoulder. But, oh well.
Yeah.
we're back.
Hopefully it's a quick road to recovery.
Yeah, that'll be key, because I do not like being stationary. I mean, even today I was out trying to do some form of workout, like riding on an Echo bike and doing some calf and leg movements, but I can't sit still.
I mean, that's kind of like a similar situation, because like Taylor and I are like relative, like we like to go out on the weekends. We like to, go out, sit on a patio, be outside, do stuff. And we just haven't been able to do it because it's like, okay, we're going to go to, this place that has an outside patio with no shade and it's 104 degrees outside. It's just like, you don't have, like, we can't go on, like, I used to take my dog on like long mid-afternoon walks. Like we would go for like 2-mile walks, and when it's 105 degrees outside, you can't do that. Like here's
really the best part. It's not getting any better. It's only going to get worse. So you better get like an AC, an air conditioned suit for the young pup, or you guys are going to have to build a doggy toilet indoors, like Perfected Chaos is saying here. So
yeah, I mean, it's pretty awful, but hey, we're back to Star Wars talk, what little of it there is, and
you know what?
I think we're going to spend.
This is an Ahsoka show, but I did forget. We didn't have our show last week. Got some good feedback here from Bango and someone else. They're liking the Scoundrels, Jode. We're trying to get another episode recorded. We had a date lined up this week. I don't think 1/6 Shooter ever replied, so we'll have to figure it out. But the goal is to get Scoundrels Chapter 3 recorded sometime in August. I think the slow drip is nice. People kind of like waiting and coming back and getting their cliffhangers resolved. But before we say, before we get into all, our hardcore Ahsoka coverage today, I do want to do a quick little review of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Seth Rogen's animated version that came out 2 weeks ago. It's fantastic. It's not as like wild visually as Into the Spider-Verse, that franchise is, but it definitely borrowed liberally from them in terms of the animation they went with. But in terms of the tweak to their origin story and how they kind of showed themselves to the world and just the ooze and mutants in general, I absolutely enjoyed it. The kid loved it. Brought one of her friends. They both enjoyed it too. So, if you're a Turtles fan, you got little ones. Even if you don't have little ones, Turtles Mutant Mayhem is well worth your time, no doubt. Yeah,
that's on our to watch list as well. That's probably going to be either like a this weekend or next week type of thing.
Fantastic soundtrack. It's like almost all 90s rap before it gets into like the swearing and shit. It's just, I mean, you can tell Seth's touches all over it. It's not like a stoner movie, but you can tell like it's the 80s and 90s in particular are a big influence in this movie. But I really enjoyed it. It was funny, looked cool, had great music, good little twist on the origin story, and they definitely set it up to spit out a few more if they want to.
Good to know. Yeah, because I want to see that. I went to see Barbie last
so what'd
Monday.
You think? Did you dig it or not?
I loved it.
Great,
I thought
right?
It was super funny. I thought it was like, it was so well made, just in terms of like how all of the characters like are all Barbies, but they all have their own
now you know who Alan is, right? How about Alan in the end?
Oh, dude, Alan was great. He was like, I'm just here to hang out, have a good time, help you guys out. It was fun stuff, man. I mean, I truly enjoyed it. I still haven't seen Oppenheimer yet. That may be a home video type of movie.
That's not a bad choice.
I mean, Barbie was really fun.
And I think, hasn't it still been winning the weekends, or did it lose last weekend?
I think finally it bumped down. Oh, actually, it might have been top this past weekend too. I'll check out Box Office Mojo because that's my top.
I don't think
go-to.
Turtles took it down, but they were a midweek release, so it doesn't necessarily count.
No, Barbie is still on top. Latest weekend, August 11 through 13. Barbie 33.8 million. It's crossed $1 billion already. Okay.
That's worldwide, or is that domestic?
Worldwide. So domestic is at 526 million, and international is at 660 million. So worldwide, it's 1.87 billion so far, dude. Insane.
Good for Greta and gang. I mean, good for them. I don't think you can really make a sequel out of this, and I hope they don't.
It'd be hard to.
But good for them. That kicks ass.
Yeah, no, it was super fun. If there are people out there who are like holding back, haven't seen it yet, I would recommend going to see it. It's just a fun movie. Like it's
really good. And the fact that it upset all the the far right weirdos, that should tell you it's got a good social message to it. If you're not a fucking inbred weirdo goat fucker.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen, like, literally this movie's been out for 3 weeks and it's still top of the box office. We haven't seen that in a while in the box office. No, like
probably probably Top Gun last summer, maybe.
I would say But
Top
even then,
that was still a COVID-esque summer. So this is getting back to how movies that released in the summer used to perform before the death and before people were like, you know what, fuck it, I'd just rather sit at home and be a piece of shit. Yeah, I'm telling you, man, going to the theater is still worth it, especially for movies like Turtle. Oppenheimer you could probably get away with, although Nolan definitely goes for the visuals and audio that theaters can give you. And I still think Barbie is a great movie theater movie too. Did you have were gaggles of women in pink still going, Nick, or was it somewhat thinned out?
Yeah, it was pretty thinned out. We went on a Monday, like, because we had like a pretty light Monday, so we went like midday when people would still be working. But like there was like a grandma and grandpa there with their like 4-year-old granddaughter. She was watching it, and she was fine. Like the kid really wasn't.
It's like I told you. Like, it is serviceable for kids. They're just not going to get the message that is being told.
Like they're going to really enjoy the visuals of that movie, because the visuals of that movie are so toy centric. Like the whole Barbie land is like clearly toy inspired, and Taylor was telling me like all of the houses that are in Barbie land are real Barbie dream houses.
I know, Nick. So, I know. I have a few upstairs, not mine, but my kids, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Well, even how when they're in Barbie land and they float, right? No one really walks. It's because the kids are playing with them. So I'm telling you, toy people, collectors out there, even you might get something out of Barbie just from that aspect, the whole nostalgia of owning toys, playing with them, so on and so forth. For those asking, Michael, yes, I can drive. Luckily, got the old right hands. I can still I can masturbate, so that's good. I can drive. I can scratch my balls, pick my ass, pick my nose. The only thing I can't do that I want to be doing right now, because I've really gotten into it, is golf, which any momentum I just made is gone. Was shooting in the 80s down there. And, working out. I do, as much as I hate being in the gym, like the act of doing it, I love the way it makes me feel, and I like the results. So I like this one from Bango here. Ben Shapiro is still bitter that his dad didn't let him play with Barbies as a kid. Yes, that he is one of the far righters that definitely is very upset with Barbie's success and how it's turned Nick and myself into women at this point.
Clearly.
Yes.
He's a weird guy. Like, I don't,
He's got all sorts of hang-ups, man.
He does. He really does. It's hard to...
That's who Gina's with, right? They're partners now in film.
Oh, yeah. They made that movie that made like $10,000 total. Because that movie actually did come out, and I have no idea what happened to it, but it made no money.
Sweet.
But it's just like, it must be hard to live a life like he does, to just hate everything.
That's because, what I've been telling you.
What do you draw joy from in your life? Because at this point, like, nobody respects you as like a person anymore, because you've just become like a giant internet meme. It's just hard to understand like why you would choose to live your life in such a way where everything is either either annoys you or you hate.
Listen,
it's just so hard to figure.
You know me. I'm the glass half empty type of guy. Typically not jubilant when I wake up. Usually have an edge to my personality. But you're right. Like, even someone like me, it's impossible to hate everything all the time.
Yeah, no, I mean, like it's very hard, and like I'm the type of person who like goes out of my way to not hate anything. I'll go watch something.
I
and,
need
like,
I
if
need to
it's
do
bad,
that more because I like that. It's not really pop culture that makes me. It's humanity that really gets me hating stuff.
That's the hard one.
No, I got a problem with humans, dude. I got a problem.
Yeah.
All right,
So,
you're gonna talk a little Star Wars.
yeah, let's talk a little Star Wars.
You know what, Nick? I'm sure you saw it, but there was like a deluge of Ahsoka stuff. Some of it with a lot of new beats. We're going to pass on a lot of that, but I do want to touch on the Force trailer that I think came out yesterday. And the reason we're going to talk about that is they're twofold. Anakin is in it. It's Hayden's Anakin speaking about Ahsoka. So if you haven't, if you've been keeping that head buried deep, this is confirmation now that Hayden is in the series, okay? Unless they just paid him to do a voiceover for a trailer, which ain't gonna happen. So that trailer really got everyone's nostalgia juices flowing yesterday because Hayden was in it. It's the first time you heard him as Anakin speaking the word Ahsoka in live action, if that makes sense. Does that make sense, everybody? Yes. Because you gotta remember, Hayden's Anakin never had an Ahsoka. Like that was an afterthought. That was a 2008. In fact, if you follow at StarWarsTime.show on Instagram, today's Star Wars history, I think in 2008, on this day, August 15th, the Clone Wars hit U.S. cinemas. So
I saw that. You remember how they used to do like previews and like theater preview? I think they still do. But my friend's dad always had a hookup at movie theaters, so we got to see like the early preview of the Clone Wars movie.
Yeah, I had that hookup during the prequels. Like Stunt Buddy and I, we were just talking about this when he came to visit. We got, imagine like an AMC sized theater, whole thing to ourselves. I think a week before Attack of the Clones came out.
That's pretty sick.
I mean, think about that. I would have been like 21, 22, cuckoo for like all in it. We just went to Celebration 2 out in Indy. We were nuts, like first ever cosplayers, that type of shit. And then to get to see Star Wars, my religion, a week early in a private screening in a massive theater, I'll never forget that. It fucking kicked ass. But back to that movie, Nick. It's funny that we talk about the Clone Wars now, and it's a big anniversary, especially with Ahsoka coming out. But if you look back to it, a lot of the people that now consider the Clone Wars to be some of the best Star Wars content ever produced, and Ahsoka one of the greatest characters ever created, were the loudest anti-snips, anti-animated Star Wars fucks in the land. So if you're new to the Star Wars fandom, and you're like, man, why did the fans turn on things so quickly? It's always been that way. It's always been that way.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm sure the older people, when Jedi came out and they were Ewoks, they started to turn on it. It just, hey, it happens. It's generational. It is what it is. But like I said, we get this trailer. You hear Hayden as Anakin, and I shit you not, Nick. The dude studied Matt Lanter's cadence because it is a mix of his true Anakin. He is Anakin. But it is delivered with a hint of how Lanter used to recreate Hayden's voice for the animated Clone Wars series. So it was a huge moment. I can't remember. I wrote down what he said. This is what he said, Nick. In this war, you will face more than just droids. As your master, it's my responsibility to prepare you. I won't always be there to look out for you. Don't be afraid and trust your instincts. I know you can do this, Ahsoka. Is that kind of what he said to her in the Tales of the Jedi short when he essentially turned her over to the clones? Is that like a direct quote?
It sounded familiar when I heard it in the trailer. I don't think it's a direct quote, but it is definitely something that is
it's the same like mantra
along the same lines.
Okay, yeah, because I believe from that short, she kicked the shit out of the new droid remotes. And Anakin was like, fuck that. You're going to face more than droids in this war. So if you really want to train the right way and be prepared and take care of yourself, we're going to do it my way. And that's where he essentially has the clones for all 3 years of the Clone Wars, zap her ass until she gets good.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I guess, Nick, is that Was that just a treat for the trailer, or is that like a flashback moment we're hearing?
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because I do think that moment to me is either two things: a flashback moment, like you said, or it is like it's like a mantra. Like it's almost like something that she like hears in her head in meditation.
Well, go ahead.
Well, like to me, like that doesn't apply just to like the Clone Wars. That applies to everything. Like there is going to be more than you expected in this journey.
Yeah. This is just like we realized with that lesson. The only reason she survived Order 66 with Rex is because of that training. And that exactly. wasn't fighting droids. I mean, that was trying to save your life against a full starship of mad clones. So you are right. I mean, this was a lesson more for just droids. It was for her life. And what I was going to say before I cut you off and then let you finish. So there you go, Spencer. Shit. And that's why I cut him off, because now I fucking forget.
You forgot.
Damn it.
It's okay.
It made sense. Yeah, it definitely. I was driving home a point. Oh well, fuck it. So, I do think him talking in this trailer is a voiceover that we're gonna get in the show. And okay. So the other like yesterday, and I think part of today, the other thing they're really hitting hard on the Ahsoka promotions is the whole apprentice master dynamic. I mean, literally there's a trailer today just on masters and apprentice. That's kind of what this trailer was, masters and apprentice. So it does seem, not that this is a surprise, but the whole Sabine Ahsoka master apprentice is going to be a major focus, a major narrative of the Ahsoka series. And Nick, I have this screen up from this Force trailer that had Anakin and all that fun stuff, and it had these words with obviously Ahsoka being underneath them. A new Jedi will rise. All right, is it Sabine? Does Ahsoka call herself a Jedi again by the end of this? I mean, what is that? How are you interpreting that?
There's a lot of options. I mean, we've definitely seen training montages between Sabine and Ahsoka throughout the different trailers that have been released. So that's definitely a possibility. Ahsoka, I don't know if there's anything that could happen in this series that could be like, well, I'm going to rededicate myself to the Jedi again, because that was never really like, it didn't seem like she had any interest in going back, or that she was like, I'll come back when I feel the time is right. I feel like she was like very much on her own journey. The only other option that I can think of, and this would be like a real kind of on the sly way to handle it, is Jason, right? Like the kid, Hera's son. Because I mean, like we know that he is from Force blood. I mean, Kanan is undoubtedly
in there. There's no doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt.
He's undoubtedly a Jedi producer. So it could be a sly way of like pointing to Jason Syndulla in a way. It could also be Sabine, but I don't know if we've ever gotten any sort of confirmation that Sabine actually has Force powers. I think we may have discussed it like that there was like perhaps like a small hint in Rebels at some point when she was doing her training with Kanan and the Darksaber. Yeah, but it was never like
that. That's kind of where I want to go, because I have a feeling this show is turning into Sabine becoming a trained Force user, and she potentially is the new Jedi.
It's
I mean, obviously Ezra's out there, but is he already a Jedi? Sort of, right?
Yeah, like he's not like I wouldn't consider him like a new Jedi.
I feel like at this point, I'm dying here.
I feel like at some point, like it was accepted that Ezra had taken his place at the very least as a Jedi Padawan under the training of Kanan during the time of Star Wars Rebels. Like, so I don't think that he would be considered a new Jedi. So yeah, I mean, Sabine makes sense. Jason Syndulla makes sense. I don't even think that you could consider like you wouldn't even consider Ahsoka a new Jedi.
No.
So like even if she did decide to like retake the moniker of Jedi, I wouldn't consider her a new one.
Well,
it's just like she's coming back.
That's why I really like your Jason call there, because I wasn't even thinking of that. I mean, and I should be, because they're making it so obvious that it could be Sabine through these trailers. Like they're not hiding shit. I mean, like I said, this weekend we got a lot of new footage. You get better looks of the Sabine Shin duel. You get better looks of literally Sabine wearing a blinder training with Ahsoka. And like I said, it really feels like a main narrative here outside of the Thrawn shit and Ezra and all that is the master apprentice or reforming the master apprentice bond between an Ahsoka and Sabine. And who knows what happened off screen. Hopefully we're going to get all that filled in. Maybe she did start training. Maybe there is an inkling of the Force power. I think we have kind of come to the conclusion that anyone can tap into the Force. I believe the Maker himself has said that. It's just it's easier for some people that, you know, are obviously loaded with more genes. But
if your midichlorian count is higher, it's much easier to tap into the
sure.
Yes.
So, I don't know. I mean, let's run with it. If Sabine, why a new Jedi will rise? I mean, Luke's the new Jedi. He's rising them all. I mean, does Sabine end up training with Luke at some point in time?
Unless this is like truly a very like this is like a true like future Force vision that is referencing Rey already at this point.
Could it be the plural? Could it be the plural of Jedi, like a new Jedi, like as in order,
a new type of Jedi
will rise.
You know, like what Rey is supposed to bring about this new type
and
of
Rey's
Jedi
still
order.
like 30 years down the road from this.
Yeah, no, I mean she's pretty far out. I mean the other thought is like, could they potentially be talking about Kylo? Because we know that Kylo is born. You know, Ben Solo was born and trained as a Jedi under Luke Skywalker.
Because this is taking place season 3 Mando, so we're close to 10 years.
8-9 years.
Yeah, close to 10 years past Jedi. And I think...
And he's 10 years older than Rey.
Yeah, Kylo would be... He's probably about to be born here within the next 5 to 10... Probably 5 years at that. There's also, like, if you go back to some of the earlier trailers, Huyang says maybe it's time to start again, remember? So I don't know. It's like, I guess we've been so consumed with the Thrawn, his threat to the New Republic. Obviously, a lot of the leaks we looked at early on, and I'm glad I've forgotten a lot of them because some people... and listen, I like Bespin Bulletin, but I can't believe he like just flat out put out spoilers like on a post title. I'm like, dude, that's not right. But it does sound like the series is also going to put a lot of focus on this Sabine thing.
Yeah,
we got a question here from Michael. How do you both feel about Sabine being Force sensitive? I hate it because Disney acts like there are 300 Force sensitive. You know what, Michael? We've actually talked about this. We too have brought up the fact that it seems like Order 66 wasn't as final as we thought. I mean, Baylan, in Ahsoka, he's a Force user. Kanan was a Force user. Ezra became a Force user. Grogu. So I definitely feel it. I necessarily wouldn't be as upset with Sabine just because of how much time she has spent with Force users and her Mandalorian background. That'd be kind of cool to, you know, get another Mando Force user out there in the galaxy. But I do understand, and like I said, a few shows back, Nick and I, we went on a pretty deep tangent on are there too many Jedi that survived? Because it is getting weird. It's like if you had all this conflict, yet you had Grogu sitting around, or this person, or Baylan, or Ahsoka, or Sabine, or Ezra. What were they doing? Why did they allow why'd they allow the First Order to come back?
I mean, With Sabine, it is a very interesting thing because, like we mentioned, in Rebels, there was already kind of hints that she was Force sensitive. Like, if you haven't watched Rebels, go back and watch it. Specifically, go back and watch, I think it's season 3, when she gets the Darksaber and she's training with it with Kanan. Like, go watch that series, like specifically like that arc. And you can see that, like, even at that time, they were kind of talking about her as like potentially Force sensitive. Also, like, you know, I think the question around like the number of Force users in the galaxy was specifically around like the number of Jedi who survived Order 66,
which are trained hardcore Force users. So, like we were saying earlier, and we'll wrap Michael's question here, is I believe George is on record saying everyone can tap into it. It's just easier, comes more naturally to those that have a higher midichlorian count. So Sabine, you know, always had potential to tap into her latent Force powers. It just, you know, because she wasn't taken as a child, she wasn't trained. It's gonna take a little more. You know, she's not a Rey, she's not a Skywalker, she's not a Palpatine, she's not a Kenobi type, she's not a Yoda, a Windu. But if we take what the maker's saying, everyone's got a little bit of that juice in their system. With enough coaching, mentoring, training, you probably can start to do some stuff with it. Hell, we see her try to push fighting Shin. I mean,
she's literally like,
that means maybe she's done it in the past, maybe she's felt it, maybe she's like, maybe Ahsoka, maybe that's like the first step. Ahsoka's like, okay, like step one, Jedi power. Step one, push, Force push things. Like this is your first step into a new world, almost. You know, so kind of harkening back to what Kenobi said. It's weird. It's like if she came out in the series and she's a full on Jedi and she can do the mind trick and fucking heal people, that'd be like, okay, that's dumb. But if they show how it's been an arduous journey, a slow roll to get there, I mean, how it seems like these two have beef where they quit training together, or Ahsoka, she says she just left Sabine. I could get into that, where, you know, it's kind of like a Karate Kid. You slowly come into these powers and you become formidable, but it was no easy task to kind of get them to come out and use them the way you want to.
I mean, you got to go through Force on, Force off before you can, you know,
that's how you start the mind trick. It's like that. Yeah. So you got to practice the movement. So,
and I could see Sabine, like if that's the case, I could see her just based off of her personality type and her character being the person that's like, I don't want to do all this beginner shit. Like, just tell me how to fucking do stuff.
It's just, I thought it was weird. A new Jedi will rise, and it's, like Nick said, I don't see Ahsoka rebranding herself. I think she's become what she is. She is, to me, the definition of an unaligned Force user. She's the truest of it, possibly, because she hasn't fucked with any order since she was a teen. Where, you know, Rey's reading the Jedi books, Kylo was jerking off to his grandfather. I mean, he was pretty much into the dark side, and Ahsoka has, I know the word doesn't exist, but she has kind of been that Ahsoka the Grey ever since she, I'd say since the Siege of Mandalore.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, because, even in the Siege of Mandalore, she was essentially like coaxed back.
Right.
Like,
it was Bo-Katan, Ursa Wren, and one other Night Owl were like, hey, we need your help to get this dickhead and face paint off our planet.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it was like, okay, well, we're going to have to loop in Kenobi and Anakin to get some sort of like on the ground support. And then obviously, if you guys, you know, everybody who's seen Clone Wars season 7 knows that's how the 332nd comes around and everything like that. So,
it was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, there's,
I know the Hayden thing was the big boner popper yesterday. And I agree. It was cool. I mean, they reuse his old young Anakin footage, and I think someone left a comment like, hey, I'm down for as long as they're not trying to make old Hayden look young. And I got that. You know, we brought that up during the one flashback in Kenobi where it's like, yeah, you know, I mean, Hayden still looks great, but you probably should have done a few more passes over the face, wipe out a few more wrinkles, or just do whatever you did for Harrison Ford in Dial of Destiny.
Yeah. I mean, the one for Harrison looked pretty good, but yeah, I mean, we'll see kind of how they treat it. I assume now that they've like seen what the finished version looked like in Kenobi, and they've gotten fan feedback. I guess that's what you call it. Fan feedback.
I fucking hate you, ILM. You suck dick. FireCathy.
Yeah.
.com.
And they're like, okay, file that under hostile feedback, and then now they can try to see if they can.
Could you imagine those bins? The hostile bin is literally touching the roof, where the positive feedback, there's like one piece of paper in there.
Yeah, two or three.
And it comes from the Star Wars Time show. Yeah.
Yeah, they take the hostile feedback.
Like, we know Matt from SWTS. He'll like it. He's a fucking lemming dope, so he'll say something nice to us. So yeah, new Jedi will rise. Who that new Jedi is, it's up in the air. I mean, from the trailers, seems like it's Sabine. I don't see Ahsoka, as Nick said when we kicked this topic off, coming around like, you know what? Yes, after we did this and got Ezra back and Thrawn's here, I'm ready to call myself a Jedi again. Who knows? I guess it could be cool, maybe, especially if she linked up with Luke and they were Jedi together, but it just seems out of character. I think Nick's kind of out of the blue pick of Jason Syndulla. That's pretty nice. That'd be a fan moment for sure, and it would definitely line up even better than Sabine. Even though we've seen Sabine train, we know she's dedicated and yada yada. But when you got some Kanan sperm in your DNA, it definitely makes it a bit easier to sell you as a potential Jedi, future Jedi. The only other thing I wanted to just show off here, I think it's the best shot we got from this trailer when they're flying through all that smoky shit and you can see all those tentacles. But we got like the face and the eye of what has to be a Purrgil here. So I'm assuming, Nick, because they're like having a dogfight through this. So I'm guessing the good guys, their only way to get to where they need to go is through the whales, where the bad guys may have gotten there through their other trinkets and devices, and they're trying to prevent the good guys from getting to location X in the Z galaxy, where they're going to find Karate Kid Ezra using his Taraskasi skills against zombie stormtroopers and all this other shit we've heard about.
I assume that it's something similar to like what was like how they found their way to Exegol, because like Exegol was another place.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like it's not route on the star map. You kind of have to like rub your belly and tap your head at the same time. Yeah,
so we'll see. But yeah, I mean the Purrgils are definitely like, and the thing is with the Purrgils is like we already know that they have a direct connection to the whole, Thrawn, Ezra, Bamf out of wherever they are to somewhere else thing. So like maybe if they like can communicate with the Purrgils in some way, and we know that like Ahsoka has a connection
100%.
to Force specific animals. So
go back to Tales of the Jedi. I mean, literally her origin story is her mom and her went out on their ritual hunt, because that's what they do. And her mom gets a fucking saber-toothed tiger thing, takes her from her mom and is about to eat her, and Ahsoka reaches out with the Force and tames it, and essentially without speaking commands it to take her back to the village.
So I can definitely see a moment where like she connects with one of these Purrgils.
That's how Ezra did it, right? Isn't that how he more or less channeled them to Lothal to pull him out? I mean, he used the Force, like literally reached out ESP style, kind of like Spock to the humpback whales in the Search for Spock, Star Trek 4.
Oh man, yeah. Because I mean, prior to that moment, Ezra had a connection with the Purrgils when they were working
Kanan with the fucking wolves. I mean, Christ. I mean, season 4, after Kanan's tragic passing, he and Ezra communicate through the big ass Lothwolf. I mean, Doom.
That's how we found out Kanan's real name.
So I would not be surprised if we got some creature Force communication. You're 100% correct here. And it could be like Ahsoka reaching out like, hey, all these years ago, you took this other being, take me there. And whoop, they do their little zip, bling, and see you later. Fucking, I wonder who stole hyperspeed from the whales. And do you think they did it like the way we do to animals and they like tortured it and fucking abused it? Or
God,
do you think it was just like something natural, like in their juices they left in the ether, they could figure it out?
Yeah, hopefully it's like whenever they did like jump into hyperspace, there was like a material or some sort of like space goo left behind that they could like take and
collect it up
experiment
and
on,
figure it out.
And they didn't like fucking capture one of these purgils
and like test shampoo on it and
like experiment,
put makeup on it to make sure it's safe.
Oh god.
My buddy Rory, the Jar Jar Binks Homer, he was telling me something. This is completely off topic, but not really. He's like, dude, I was listening to this old experiment that they did. I don't know if it was like the army or something, but they took a family of rabbits, like a mother and her baby bunnies. They sunk the baby bunnies on a sub, kept the mother on land, and then they systematically drowned each baby bunny to see if the mother's brain would somehow respond through like ESP. It's like
that is so
well that's
up.
Humanity for you, but science is science, I guess.
And just to like give like so before we went live, I told Matt that me and my girlfriend Taylor just rescued this abandoned kitten, and like so like both Matt and I are very much like animal lover people, and just to hear that, like, I mean, I already knew just from like going to school that the U.S. government and like the world just like uses animals as experimentation methods, which is disgusting. But like that is just on a next level of stupidity and heartlessness that I really can't understand.
Well, I mean, my two cats, we call them COVID cats, and the reason we do is 2020 summer, I had 2 cats show up in the sewer in my backyard, and they weren't running away, so they weren't feral. Some fuck just dropped them in the neighborhood. It's like, here you go. Good luck.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so disgusting how people treat animals, and like probably the same in a galaxy far, far away. Honestly, like probably they captured one of these purgils and fucking poked it with electric rods until it like hyperspaced itself, and then learned what they could to make the
when it comes
to
test and subjects, I promise you, there are plenty of humans in this world that will do anything for cash. Just pay them. But like, listen, you might lose a fucking body part or an eye might fall out, but we'll give you 50 grand. That's the best fucking test you can get for making makeup or shampoo or whatever the hell else you're testing on animals. So just offer it up to people. People are out there, right? And I always hear how people can't get work. This doesn't require a 9 to 5. Just go and, cross your fingers and hope you don't grow a third head.
Yeah, exactly. Like if your hair turns green, hey, that's a risk.
There you go. It's better than doing it to animals. So,
yeah.
And we're animals anyways, people. Just get used to that idea, all right? All right. So sticking on the Ahsoka train. So we have all sorts of stuff. We got the directors who we're going to talk about now. We got the runtime for the first 3. And then as we always do here on the Star Wars Time Show, over this week and next week's show, we're going to do our wants and predictions. So this week, we're going to lay down our wants. So think about like as a pure fan wish. Like I really hope to see this. Where next week, we're going to use our educated Star Wars helmets to make some predictions. Hopefully not looking at spoilers, because I'm not. Because they are bad. And like I said, I caught one on BB I was like, dude, come on. I know you want that clout and clicks, but you can't throw that type of shit into a fucking post title.
Yeah, no, you can't.
We're not there yet. We're into directors, and I know, I kind of dig this too. Mostly, Nick, because we've gotten to know this kind of crew of Mandoverse directors over the past 4 years. So a lot of times when you know who's directing which episode, you can kind of get an idea of what that episode may entail. So for Ahsoka, we have the man himself, George Lucas's apprentice, Dave Filoni. He's kicking off the premiere. So he's doing episode 101 and he's doing 105. So he's got the premiere, Nick, and kind of like the half or the midway, after the midway.
Midway.
Yeah.
Yeah, right after the midway.
Steph Green, who we all loved her episode in the Book of Boba Fett. She did the train heist, if you forget. She's taken on 102 and 103. So she, in my opinion, Nick, is getting almost even more important episodes than Dave with the pilot. Because she kind of has to pay off.
To keep the momentum.
Pay off on what was set up. And like Nick said, kind of keep the interest engaged. Peter Ramsey, who just took a turn in Mando S3E5. He's got episode 4.
What was episode 5?
Episode 5, I do not think is the Lizzo episode. It's the I think it was the Pershing
The
episode.
pirate. It's the
pirate?
pirate. Yeah, it's the
Okay.
pirate. So that's the one with.
So it was the battle, right? It was the attack on Navarro.
Yeah, it was I think it was the the attack on Navarro.
Oh yeah, well, that's
then,
fantastic. He was good. Yeah,
New Republic.
He was definitely good.
Yeah, so that was the one where it was like they were like Tiva's trying to get aid, won't happen, and then the Mandos kind of.
Bat's down here saying he thinks Thrawn will show up in 105. That's why Dave has it.
It could. It's very possible.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not opposed to that. I'm still kind of in the camp where Thrawn doesn't have his true galaxy return until the end. But in terms of seeing him for the first time, yeah, I'm down for the 5th episode. That makes sense.
I'm kind of on the same page with you on that, because I really do think that like the proper introduction to Thrawn, like his re-emergence, will probably be either episode 7 or 8.
Right, because we have so many bad guys to deal with in the series. I mean, Baylan, Shin, Merrick. There's 3 right there, and they all use the Force and lightsabers in some capacity. We've heard that Thrawn's going to have a kind of his own henchman, Enoch. So I think they're going to have the good guys are going to have plenty to play with to kind of leave the big blue man in the background. But yeah, I could see like that shot we've seen in the trailer the first time we saw him at Celebration. I could see that coming up in episode 5. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that, Bat. I don't think we get a lot of New Republic dealing with Thrawn in the Ahsoka series. I don't. I think they're saving that for.
Yeah, the overall New Republic side of it, like the actual New Republic getting involved, that is probably gonna be not in this series.
I wouldn't be, like if he shows up in 7 or 8 and just blasts the rest of their fleet, sure. But I don't think we get into the politics of Thrawn's return too deeply in the Ahsoka series. I think the first half is going to be Ahsoka out on her thing. She's hearing the murmurs, goes to the New Republic. They tell her to fuck off, but her Rebels friends are like, you know what? We believe you. We're kind of feeling itchy too. Let's go gather up Sabine and the crew and let's do our thing. It's about time to go find Ezra because he's attached to Thrawn. So, but hey, you never know. You never know. I'm on Percocet 10s right now. They're definitely kicking in, so I could just be making shit up. There's my boy, Justin and Devin. Yes. You'll have to rewind. Broke my collarbone on the one wheel on the beach, having a great time. So yeah, life sucks, but it's a much better situation than having a leg taken out. Okay, so yes, I'm an asswipe. All right. Continuing with our director, so we left with Peter Ramsey at episode 4. We saw his work most recently in Mando S3E5. Up next is Jennifer Getzing. And Nick, you'd have to do some. I'll
do a quick Google.
Hit the internet machine real quick to look for her.
So Jennifer Getzinger, that's her name, I think. Or no, is this a different? Okay, let's see right here. Got it.
Getzinger. It probably is Getzinger.
American director and script supervisor for film and television. Worked as a script supervisor primarily. Directing credits include Hung, which is an HBO TV show. If you've never seen it, it's pretty funny. Orange is the New Black, The Killing, Agent Carter, How to Get Away with Murder. So a lot
Agent
of TV
Carter was a
episodes.
Great fucking series.
It was a really good series. She has directed episodes of Westworld and Daredevil.
So she does TV and does it well. So
yeah.
No worries there. And then we have Gita Vasant Patel. I like the name.
Apparently, she has directed House of Dragons.
Ooh, okay. So Nick's gonna hate 107.
It's gonna suck for sure. That one's gonna be bad.
I forgot House was a thing. I'm excited, but that's probably at least a year or two away. Even further. I mean, dude, Rings of Power. Fuck, when are we gonna see season 2 of that at this point?
Dude, I don't know. That's crazy. I mean, the good thing for my household is Wheel of Time season 2 is coming out September 1.
Okay,
so
that's good. That's good. I'm down with that. I'm down with that. I might need to rewatch 1. I'm rewatching Foundation season 1 to get into season 2 because that's going on right now, and I want to watch that Silo on Apple TV with Rebecca Ferguson because that looks pretty excellent.
So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with this one, but yeah, House of Dragon for Geeta. She also did The Runaways, some episodes of The Runaways, some episodes of The Magicians. The Great is a Hulu TV show about comedy series based in like old England.
All right.
Like, you know, monarchy times in England. So she definitely has some notable stuff under her belt for sure.
And then Mr. Rick Famuyiwa, he gets the finale.
Closing it out. Yeah, I mean, Rick is just a part of the Star Wars TV family at this point. I think he's worked
Nick,
on everything.
at this point, he's essentially the third head in the Dave and John Mandoverse. I mean, it's John is the lead, Dave is the right hand, and then, you know, Rick at this point is almost the Holy Spirit. So
yeah, exactly. So
yeah, because he did Mando S1 episode 2 and 6, Mando S2 7, Mando S3 178. So he's up there. I mean, he's directed more Mandoverse than Dave Filoni himself.
Than Dave has. So yeah, no, I mean, I'm glad that he's closing it out. I've liked the episodes that he's filmed before. I think that, you know, all of us can agree that the episodes that he did for Mando season 3 were top notch. So excited to see how he closes it, and really like excited to see how this ends, because I think for most of the other series, like you could kind of see where it was going towards the end of it. And I think that like there's a way that you can kind of see how this one's going. Like probably Thrawn's going to end up a big force in the galaxy by the end of this series. But like, who is he bringing with him is my question.
Well, like again, without getting too deep into the leak weeds, it sounds like some form of resurrected nightmare force infused army of some kind.
Crazy. So I mean, like that could also be like, if it really is something like that, is that like what essentially becomes the Sith troopers, like the experimentation that Thrawn did on these troopers? If this is true, like, is this experimentation that he did to like have these force infused troopers like used in the Sith trooper project that we see in Rise of Skywalker?
I mean, you would know better than me, but did Thrawn give a rat's ass about the Force and that type of shit?
No, Thrawn always looked at the Force as like as something interesting, but it was never something, at least from what I've read.
Yeah, like so
he was never.
So I don't see him like, getting all. I don't know what's going on here. Maybe a bone, like part of my collarbone's coming up through my throat, but I can't talk. Yeah, I don't know. I like I said, I'm not going to relook at some of the leaks, but from what I can remember, it does sound like, and this is potentially how he's connected to Morgan Elsbeth, and she's connected to Night Sisters, but wherever he's been, there's some form of the Force that our galaxy doesn't quite know how to tap into. They can use it a bit differently, and it sounds like he's potentially used it to resurrect some army, potentially stormtroopers, to bring back.
So here's the one thing that I can say about Thrawn's involvement with Force users in the past. And it has to do with his time in the Chiss Ascendancy. For the Chiss, the only real interaction that they had with Force-sensitive people was their navigators. All of their navigators were Force-sensitive, but they called them something else. They didn't say, like, they have the Force. They had a different name for them within the Chiss Ascendancy. And it was because all of their navigators were Force-sensitive, because they were the only ones that could navigate through the uncertain areas of space that they were traveling through.
You know what this sounds like? This sounds like the humans in Dune that took so much spice they become like big brains to navigate essentially their wormholes.
Yeah, it's very similar to that, where like they had to use the Force to essentially like be able to predict obstacles in their way, predict things that were like in the path of their hyperspace travel and work around it.
Well, here, Bang is saying that they call them Skywalkers, right?
That's what it was, Skywalkers. Yep, I was like, God damn it, I know that like they called them Skywalkers.
There you go.
And it was because it was like that was like an interaction that like when Thrawn and Anakin first met up on Batuu before Anakin had turned into Vader, and Thrawn found out his name was Anakin Skywalker. Either that like influenced the way that they named their navigators, or it was the opposite, where like Thrawn was like Skywalker. We've used like that's what we call our navigators.
Okay. All right, so Bango's with you. Yeah, Thrawn generally saw the Force as a tool, pretty much what you were saying. So if we take that, it would make complete sense if he's locked out in La La Land that someone showed him how to use the Force in a way to give him a tactical advantage. He's probably going to tap into that then, right?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And that, like, one of my things, so we have, like, a special topic planned for this where we, like, go into our wants for Ahsoka. And really, one of the things that I'm interested in is he's always wanted to get back to the Chiss ascendancy. Like I said in, like, multiple episodes ago, like, he was, like, the goal for him was always to, like, help the Empire, yes, achieve their goals, but his end goal was to, like, once he dealt with whatever the issues were for the Empire in this galaxy, to really use the force of the Empire to repel the Chiss's, enemies, the Grisk that were starting to push into their territory. So now that he's like been out there on his own for quite a while, like he's been out in unknown space for a while, did he take that time to go back to the Chiss, like to the people that he's already familiar with, make contact with the Chiss again, and potentially take some of their resources back? Like, yeah, I mean, there's
that's
a lot
potential. We also have to consider that if he needs Morgan to get him, he probably hasn't figured out how to, wherever the whales dropped him, the Purrgil, even all these years later, almost 10 years later, he still hasn't figured out how to leave that space.
Yeah. So there's a lot of open questions as to like Thrawn's resurgence, and like, because he's not coming alone. Like, it would make no sense for him to be like, yeah, I was. I mean,
he has at least the Chimera, right? Is that the ship he got sucked out on? I don't think they sucked any other destroyers out there with him.
Yeah, so like that was, he was on the Chimera. Obviously, we know that the windows to that ship got fucking wrecked, and they were exposed to the vacuum of space. But they have like blast shields that can come down around that, so that shouldn't be an issue.
Except there were like Purrgil tendrils through the windows holding on to Thrawn. Yeah. So I still. So yeah, hey, I mean, it's animated sci-fi. It's just the Purrgil juice saved them. He sprayed them with goo, and then they could breathe the goo.
Yeah, it's like, who knows how they're going to justify all of that stuff, but there's no way that he's been gone for this long and he's going to come back empty-handed.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, again, without getting into the spoiler weeds, I think he's been spending his time in this unknown part of the galaxy working with the locals and getting some mysticism added to his tool belt. Not for him to use, but use as tools, as all you Thrawn homers are telling me right here. So, all right. Makes sense to me. It's good shit, man. I mean, the show is, I'm definitely starting to feel the excitement for it. I mean, I have felt it, but we're a week away at this point. And it really is, it's like, man, I can't wait. Because as we get into our next topic here, we're getting a treat next week, at least in terms of runtime, and this is the way to do it. Although I'm scared about the trend after episode 1. So next week, remember, we're getting a 2-episode drop, and episode 1 with actual content, 51 minutes 6 seconds. Episode 2, actual content, 38 minutes 33 seconds. So right there, Nick, we're essentially starting with your plan. If we started releasing these things in theaters, we're starting with a damn near 90-minute movie to kick off the Ahsoka series next week. And yeah, I think that's brilliant. I mean, episode 1 is definitely heavy. It's long. I mean, I think we're going to get a lot of the broad setup in episode 1. By the end of mid-episode 2, we will be funneling towards the more focused narratives. And then next week in 3, we should be well on our way to the adventure. But the 90-minute start of pure content is exciting. Even though I'm like, this is gonna be hard to break down with one hand. But I know I'll figure it out. But I do like it. I think spending 90 minutes with Ahsoka next week to get reacquainted with everyone in live action is definitely the right move. I'm glad they did the 1-2. It makes sense now that you see these runtimes. I have a feeling if you just stopped at 1, you'd be sitting there with your mouth agape like, but we're not quite there yet. Yeah, we're not quite there yet. So I think episode 2 will give you that climax you're looking for. But yeah, that, and then we got, like I said, episode 3 at 31 minutes. So it is looking like as the season goes on, it's going to settle into that half hour of pure content, which, hey, it's just, for some reason in Star Wars land, and now it seems like in the MCU, they can't make 40-minute long TV shows anymore.
Yeah. So, I mean, I hope that the 90-minute kickoff really like gives us a really strong kind of kick into the season and then carries off into the rest of the 30. I mean, I'm assuming that everything's going to be around 30 minutes from that point on out.
Well, you know our boy Cryptic HD Quality, who always has these scoops. I don't know where he works or where his friends work, but I'm sure he'll be dropping the episode runtimes throughout the season. So stay tuned to the Star Wars Time Show to get your runtime news hot and fresh.
Yeah. For sure.
Ezra, what is Ezra trending for? I mean, there's a press packet going around today where Amon Esfandi is specifically listed in it, but the guy was in the fucking trailer. So
yeah, I mean, he was in. We saw him in the trailer, in the hologram in the trailer. So that's
here's where you know where the world is fucked up, especially over here. As we're looking at this Twitter post from Cryptic HD Quality, the trending hashtag right now is Trump 2024 now more than ever. After his fourth indictment. Now has over 40 charges added to it. I mean, fuck off, people. Yeah. All right. Sticking with our friend Ahsoka. Nick teased it a few minutes ago, but we did this with Bad Batch. We did it with Mando. It's kind of how we ease into a new season of Star Wars TV. We like to do our wishes and wants first, so just pure fandom stuff. As fans, this is what we'd like to see. And then next week, we'll actually lay down our take it to the bank, or maybe get it close to the bank, throw it in the sewer predictions for what is going to happen. All right, so we're just going to get into it, looking at lovely, lovely Rosario's face right here. Beautiful lady. That's you got to watch all. There's a nice, it's like almost an 8-minute featurette on Masters and Apprentices. You got to check it out. She does great in it. Rosario is so into this character in Star Wars. She has to be appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, she was definitely the first one to make a fan campaign of her own to play this character.
Yeah, she bought into it. She started selling it, and a lot of people believe in speaking things into existence, and that's exactly what she did. So, like I said, this week we're going to go through our wants. We don't have a number. We don't have pretty images or anything like that. We're just going to rattle off the list, and we're either going to say, yeah, that's dumb, or yeah, hey, I want that too. All right, so Nick, we'll just kind of rotate through these, or I'll read them out, and then we do our thing.
Do a little ditty.
All right, so the first one we kind of blasted in our chat here. We want an Anakin, Kenobi, Ahsoka, Captain Rex TCW flashback.
Oh yeah, I mean, get the whole crew back together. I mean, these were the characters that really kind of carried the
They were the show. I mean, they were the mains of the show along. For sure.
Yeah. And now, specifically with Rex and Ahsoka, I feel like Rex is a must-have in this series. Specifically, Kenobi, maybe. I could see, flashback stuff like that for Kenobi, maybe. But a Rex flashback is a must-have. Because she's as much, Ahsoka's trainer as Anakin is. She learned as much from Rex as she did from Anakin about
a brother, things. Friend, you can use all the superlatives, but by the end of the Clone Wars, Ahsoka Tano was closer to Captain Rex than any of his clone brothers. She was closer to him than she was to Anakin, you could argue. So yeah, I mean, they were a thing, not as in a, you sicko type of thing. That's for me. I'm the one that likes the head tails, not Rex. But you got to think about it, Nick. They save each other during Order 66. And then from there, they don't necessarily separate ever again. Like, they're always within comms to each other. They can always get a hold of each other. Rex goes out and gets early into the rebel rousing, where, based on Tales of the Jedi, Ahsoka needed a little time after Order 66 and realizing what happened, with Kenobi and the Order and Anakin. But then she started getting into the freedom fighting, and by the time Rebels came around, we knew her as Fulcrum, and she was leading cells and helping out the other cells. So yeah, they've been two peas in a pod ever since he begrudgingly kind of took her on her first few missions back in the Clone Wars movie. That's the other thing with them, Nick. They also have probably the most complete relationship circle throughout the Clone Wars era. I mean, she's an annoyance to him in the Clone Wars movie. By the end, she's kind of earned his trust. But by the end of the Clone Wars, he looks up to her as like someone he wants to be, someone he wants to emulate. So you're not wrong. I mean, they have one of the stronger, longer, and more fleshed out relationships in all of Star Wars.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that the bond between them is like unbreakable at this point. I mean, so much so to like, even when they weren't like directly working together, like Rex is the one who told the Bad Batch to get in touch with Fulcrum, which was Ahsoka. Like, there was so much that he was doing, even if they weren't like hand in hand or on the same planet and stuff like that. Like, he was funneling resources to her. He was sending operatives to her. Like, he was making sure that Ahsoka had what she needed to essentially run a cell of the Rebel Alliance by herself. Like, she
brought his old fat ass out of retirement to join Phoenix Squadron, essentially. You remember, him, Wolf, and Gregor were all hanging out, getting fat and gray, fishing off their old CT-133 or whatever.
Yeah, into the sand dunes of wherever. Yeah,
so they clearly never lost their bond, never lost contact. So, I guess for you, Nick, are you wanting a Clone Wars Rex or possibly the old man, like wheelchair style at this point in time, panhandling Rex?
Yeah. I mean, it's so hard, right? Because I mean, he's older than he was in. If we get non-flashback Rex, like if we get actual Rex and he's still alive, which would be a fucking miracle, he's got to be like old,
pretty haggard at least. Like,
I don't even know if you could still. I don't know if you could still use Tamira. Like he's too young. Like you would have to use like
slap some wrinkles on him. But yeah, he almost has to be in like a Professor X wheelchair of some sort, right? Like a hovercraft. Hell, give him one of the Vespas, but. I don't see like a spry Rex if we meet him in the present Mandoverse timeline. That's why
he would have to be in his fucking like his mid 70s, right? Like he'd have to be old.
I mean, listen, who would love to see the Rex armor in live action,
dude? Yeah, of course.
Even like I'd say, take it all the way back to Phase 1 Rex armor. I mean, that would be something to talk about around the water cooler as a pretty cool nostalgic moment. So. All right. But yeah, seeing them all together, because they, like Nick said, they were kind of the bread and butter of the Clone Wars. Most of the main stories involved one of them. I think the only other character you could argue should be in there would probably be Padme and the droids, technically, because they get a few of their own standalone episodes as well.
Yeah, I mean, a cool way to incorporate all of them would be like if there was a direct flashback to the moment
Christophus when she gets dropped off and Yoda's like, hey, here you go, Anakin, good luck, because they were all there. Kenobi was there, Rex was there, Anakin. Yeah,
you could do that, but the one that I was thinking of was if she's really reminiscing a lot about Anakin, the last time that she saw her or saw him as Anakin, which was Clone Wars season 7, right before the Siege of Mandalore, where they're all around the holo
right
table planning
him
out
and Kenobi got called back to Coruscant to do their little dum 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 dun 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 dun, shooting down Grievous's ship to start Revenge of the Sith.
So
okay,
there's a lot of opportunity for
next one here, and we've been talking about this. This is definitely something I've been trying to sell, and I don't think it's going to hit, so that's why it's a want. But I want Merrick, the Inquisitor, to be revealed as Barriss. It just makes the most narrative sense to me. It'd be another huge nostalgic payoff, but also narrative payoff, because Barriss and Ahsoka have a past, and it's a troubled past. They actually were kind of friends in a few episodes, lived through some trials and tribulations, but then once things started to get squirrely and Barriss was losing faith in the Order, she essentially framed Ahsoka for bombings that led to her more or less recusing herself from the Jedi Order.
Yeah, I mean, Ahsoka was also arrested. Like,
yes,
she was
on
put
trial.
into a jail
She was on trial.
cell.
Tarkin was essentially litigating against her. He was the prosecution. It was bad news. And, all we know is that Barriss, finally got locked up. But, okay.
Yeah, but obviously that didn't last. Once the Empire takes over, they're like, okay, we're going to obviously let you out of jail now. You're one of our operatives.
Yeah, so Merrick is Barriss. I just saw something else, and I think it was Dave Filoni himself using the term Star Killer. So who knows? I mean, maybe Filoni does get fucking nuts, because you remember I tried to sell this to you, and I wasn't loving it either, but if this show truly is, and it seems so more now than ever, about masters and apprentices, why not canonize that relationship between Vader and Galen? That would be pretty fucking dope. And it would have a little more narrative juice than just Merrick is Merrick. That's the one thing I don't want. Hi, I'm Merrick. My name is Merrick. I'm an Inquisitor mercenary. It's like, who gives a fuck?
And who were you? Who are you? Right. Where did you come from? Who are you affiliated with? It's just like, we've talked about it so much. There's just so many open threads that it's like, why would you open another one? Like, why like, if you can have this character that's clearly a foil to Ahsoka, why would you make it a character that has nothing to do with her history when there are so many people that it could be that would make sense narratively?
That's all I'm asking for, man. Just connect a few more dots for me, because that's my favorite part, right? My favorite part of Star Wars is being able to look back at the lore and be like, okay, yep, that's why this is happening now. Or, going backwards and be like, okay, yeah, now I can see why it's happening this way. I love that shit. In any sort of fake life, I love that. I love kind of figuring out what came first, the chicken or the egg, that type of shit. Okay. So, fingers crossed, Merrick is not just Merrick. Next one. Ghost Anakin and an Ahsoka check-in. At this point, from the trailer we just got yesterday, it's a done deal. We're getting flashbacks, or at least voiceover flashbacks. I do want to see Hayden in his ghost form talking to an older, wiser Ahsoka. Preferably either right when she needs it, or after she figures something out on her own and he shows up, kind of like Qui-Gon did to Kenobi in Kenobi. You know what I mean? Qui-Gon kind of let Kenobi figure shit out. And then once he did, he's like, yeah, there you go. I've always been here, just kind of waiting for you.
Yeah, it's like, I got to let you do it yourself, or you're not going to learn. No, 100% agree. And I think that, like, with the, obviously we got live action Anakin in Kenobi. I think now that Hayden has kind of been fully brought back into the fold, something like this is super easy to pull off. And dude, I would love to see, like, I'm of two minds of it. Like, I would really love to see a world where they have already established their relationship with him in ghost form, and the first time we see him is almost just like a check-in. Okay. And it's just
I'm not opposed to either, or I'm not opposed to the first, us witnessing the first, or kind of just coming along for another check-in, like you say.
Yeah. Because I think that there's so much value, especially recently for Ahsoka, that there's so much value in having Anakin back in her life fully, like through this Force connection, this Force Ghost connection, that it would make sense for him to pop in. It would almost make sense. Like, it would be crazy if we got a scene, and I just like pictured this in my head, but I think it would be so cool, that's on Corvus, like right after like Mando and Grogu leave Corvus, where like, Anakin just like appears on the log.
So you don't want to take on the little green guy, you lazy fuck.
Something like that, though, where it's just like, so you're still not confident enough to take on a Padawan.
No, hey,
and like
you're still blaming your inability to teach people on me? What the fuck's up with that, Ahsoka? Yeah. Give it up.
I think
it's been a few decades.
That would be so cool. Yeah, no, like that would be such a cool thing. But yeah, I mean, there has to be a conversation.
It goes back to how's he show up? Is he wearing
crispy?
Is he wearing Sebastian Shaw's tunic from Return of the Jedi, or is he in his leathers?
You gotta have him in the leathers.
I hope so.
And you gotta have him as Hayden's Anakin, obviously, not as Sebastian Shaw's Anakin.
Anakin did not wear beige or light tunics. Okay, he never did. He never would. So don't just drop his head onto someone else's fucking body. I don't even think they did that. I think they're like, hey, Hayden, put on this because Sebastian was wearing one. You put one on now.
Yeah, it's like you have to keep the clothes. You may not keep the face, but the clothes have to be the same.
So stupid. All right. Yeah, I really... And the other thing, let's just let Hayden be Hayden and not get his face all tore up or behind the mask or de-aged. That'd be nice too. Just let the guy act as his current version of himself.
Yeah,
I know everyone wants the Clone Wars armor, and I do too. So hopefully, if a flashback happens, like you're saying about Ahsoka, but hopefully it's deeper into the Clone Wars where he's whipping his shoulder pauldrons, and so is Kenobi, and that'd be neat. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on. Mention of the Skywalker twins and what they may be doing. So Nick, very, very casual. I would like to hear something when Ahsoka's talking to the New Republic or Hera, some mention about what Princess Leia may be up to, even if it's negative, because remember, she essentially gets kicked out of the New Republic because she is not down with a complete armistice or getting rid of all their weaponry and fleet. And maybe from Ahsoka possibly talking to Sabine, or hell, how great would this be talking to Anakin? She kind of lets him know, like, hey, yeah, I've been meeting with your son, and I see a lot of you, and blah blah, that type of shit.
Your son is rebuilding the Jedi Order.
Yeah, I'm not saying I want to see fucking uncanny Luke or uncanny Leia, but I would like to get an update from the New Republic or from Ahsoka on what they may be up to. Leia more so than even Luke, because now we know what the fuck Luke is doing. I mean, he's out collecting Yoda babies and getting turned down and having droids do slave labor on his planet to build his temple. So I would really like a Leia or Hera to be like, fucking Princess Leia, what she would do. She would greenlight this fucking Mon Mothma, you pussy tree hugging bitch.
Yeah, I mean, you know that Hera is on Leia's side 100%.
So that's what I want. Just something like that. Like, I know Princess Leia. She would support us if she was in charge, and blah 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 blah. Or just to mention, like, hey, Sabine or Ahsoka, I can't speak too freely. Look what they did to Leia. They kicked her out of the Senate. She's starting a resistance. So something like that with the Skywalker twins. Okay. Sabine and Ezra embrace. When it comes down to it, I'm a sucker for love stories. These two definitely had something between them. I don't care what anyone wants to tell me, especially towards the end of season 4. It was getting close. I mean, he pulls her aside and essentially says, like, listen, I know I'm probably not coming back. Here you go. You need to get this shit done. She painted a fucking mural of him. She's looking at his videos in his apartment on Lothal. So there's something there, and I would love to see, as long as Ezra's not some zombified, kind of conditioned cult-like freak, to see that love on screen.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to see that, like the reunion of Ezra and Sabine. I think, and here's the thing that I've talked about kind of before, is like Thrawn and Ezra have to have been together for some portion of time. Like unless like they got, like when they got jumped to wherever they got jumped to by the Purgils, they also like somehow like
hey,
hyperspace
those windows were
separated
open,
them.
Nick. You never know. They could have whipped Ezra out with one of their tendrils, and he ended up in another part of the unknown region. But
it's very possible. But to me, it's like knowing Thrawn's character. If you're left in a room with Thrawn for an indefinite amount of
he's
time,
going to convince
where
you
it's
of
just
something.
Like, he will. Like he will break you down logically to be like, I get, like, it just makes the most sense for us to work together. Like, no matter how much you hate this person, like, he's going to convince you, like, yeah, we are enemies, but in this moment, like, there is no reason for us not to work together.
You never know what could happen if you're on a deserted island. In this case, it's essentially a deserted ship in a lost galaxy. So I mean, we're talking around 10 years, or easily 10 years together. Because remember, they got jettisoned pre-Battle of Yavin.
Yeah, this is before episode 4. So
no,
like, this is,
dude, I'm with you, and that's why it says like, well, until we learned that Merrick was an Inquisitor and now is a Merc. I was like, I could see Ezra fighting his friends after he spent all that time with a Thrawn, and who knows what sort of voodoo magic force they're finding and using in that part of the galaxy. So that'll be interesting. But for me, because I can't help it. I love the love story formula, especially rom-coms. I mean, I'm a sucker for that stupid shit. But I do want to see like a big Sabine and Ezra embrace, and then obviously a sex scene. Yeah, baby, let's get some R-rated Star Wars NC-17. Okay, next, I want to see Thrawn fight, not commanding his fleet like we did in Rebels. I want to get some of his martial arts on the screen. What do you think? No shirt Thrawn too.
That would be super fun, and I think the way that it would be done, like, I don't think that we're going to see him fighting, like, hand-to-hand fighting enemies yet. If anything, it'll be like a training sequence.
Okay, that works for me. I want to see the man doing something instead of looking like a tactician in his pearly whites.
Yeah. I mean, especially for those of us who have, like, played Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, at one point in that game, like, Thrawn was busted ass broken, where he was the strongest character in the game, and like, and it was all based off of his punching abilities.
Don't worry, Nick. He's still a very valuable toon on an Empire squad because of that kick.
Yeah. So seeing that brought to live action would be fun. But yeah, I could see like him like having training sequences on the Chimera.
That would check my want for sure. So I'll take that. All right, next one, Ahsoka the White. All right. We saw her in the epilogue. Something's changed. She's only been in gray. But in a few interviews, I have read that, hey, we need to see how Ahsoka went from the gray to the white. So I would not be surprised if, although it'd be weird because I don't think we're going to have good guy success when Ahsoka's all said and done. I think it'll be more like an Empire ending, or the ending of episode 7 of season 3 Mando, where it's like, oh shit. Oh, fuck, not even that. Bad Batch. I mean, that's a perfect example where the season 2 finale just ends on the bad guys got their teeth kicked in and one died. But I would like to see her in her whites by the end. Like, you know, she has some moment, some breakthrough, either with herself, with Sabine, Ezra, something, but she transitions into the final stage of her life and becomes, like, you know, the best version of herself.
The Gandalf analogy, like everybody's been making for, you know, since we've seen. Oh,
it's like portrayal. Her and Dave use it themselves. It's like there's a recent interview. I forget, it might have been EW Deadline, something like that, but she specifically talked on, hey, the gray to the white, Gandalf, you know, what'd that mean? You know, Gandalf wasn't quite ready to be all powerful and knowing. That's why he was still gray. But once he, you know, did the thing, then he made it to his final form. So I would like to see that. And
that's like, that's what I'm like wondering about, is like knowing Gandalf's journey and knowing how they've made references to that in terms of like Ahsoka becoming Ahsoka the White. Like, what does she go? I mean, you remember fucking Gandalf
dies,
fought a Balrog, gets killed, and then is, you know, like literally kills a Balrog on his own, and then is killed in the process, and then is resurrected by, I guess
himself.
It would be Iluvatar. Yeah. Like Iluvatar resurrects him as Gandalf the White, and then sends him back to Middle Earth. Finish. So like, yeah, like what the fuck does Ahsoka have to go through then? If that's what Gandalf went through, I mean, granted, I don't know if there's a trial quite that magnitude that she could go through to earn the title, but clearly there is some sort of like trial and tribulation that she has to go through.
Who knows? It could be Dave, and it's just something he did in animation. He's already said like that epilogue. Yeah. Who knows when it really took place? And but I don't know. I want to see the live action White with the staff. Like it was almost a shocking look for Ahsoka when we all saw that in Rebels, because she was never that stoic. She was never one for tunics. She was kind of ready to battle, right? She was always wearing her battle gear, and then she shows up in this, and she looked like a changed person. She looked very wise, sage, and ready to give you any answer you asked.
Yeah, exactly. Like she was never one of like the mystic side of the Force. Yeah. Like she was because she was trained by Anakin, and Anakin was never one for the mystical side of the Force. But it seems like she may kind of settle into that in her older age, or with the experiences that she's had.
So hey, I'd like to see it. If anything, just make me the costume. God damn it! All right, another mention, but I would like Grogu to be brought up in some discussion about Force users at this point in time. I mean, she's met the motherfucker. There's a new Jedi who's going to rise in this series. I know it's not going to be Grogu, but you would think his name may pop up, and I kind of want it to. All right? I mean, he is a player in the galaxy at this point in time.
I could even see that being brought up in conversations with Anakin, because Anakin had to know about Grogu. Had to.
Why not? I mean, Baylan knew about Anakin. None of us knew about Baylan. So that's how this shit works at the temple. That would work. I mean, like I said, I want Grogu mentioned in relation to Force users. Maybe it's just talking about how there's like none, and Ahsoka's like, well, I did run into this one, but Master Skywalker has taken him on, blah, 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 but he left, and yada. Nothing long, but just to check in, right? I mean, he is a major part of this era of Star Wars, whether you like him or not. So I would like a name drop, especially from the lady that told us his name in the first place. Okay.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that, I even think that like the only reason that Grogu was in trouble is because Anakin had to tell these troopers where he was being hidden, like where to go to find him. Because I can't imagine that like regular fucking boots on the ground would know about Grogu if they were trying to keep him kind of, under wraps. So Anakin had to be like, he's being held in a secret place in the temple. So like he may even have like in his now Force Ghost form, he may even have a question about Grogu, like, or, like maybe that's why he pops up like, oh, I saw that you were speaking with Grogu, and, like kind of starts a conversation.
I wish I killed that little fucker back on that fateful night, but he got away.
Like I should have been there and killed him
Keller
and Beck.
Son of a bitch. Yeah, so
it's like he looks a lot like Jar Jar Binks, right? They look similar.
Little Grogu. So yeah, let's get a little Grogu love. I'll be happy with that. This next one we've already talked about, but all right, if we're talking about a new Jedi will rise, she's sporting that sexy green lightsaber, she's throwing fake Force pushes. Just give us Sabine the Jedi Mando. Why not? There aren't enough Jedi Mandalorians out there. I mean, we're potentially working on one with our boy Grogu. We really haven't had one since Tar. So why not? Why not make it Sabine?
Yeah. I mean, I think that would be an excellent way to kind of, but like again, like
remember these are ones, Nick. I know they don't make sense. They're ones.
It's just like if it does happen, which there is a very strong possibility that it does, that's another Force user that you need to address sequel trilogy. So I would love for it to happen to like carry on, like to more directly carry on the legacy of Tar Vizsla, in terms of like having a Jedi Mandalorian that is actually like involved in the Jedi Order in some way. I think that would be interesting.
Well, but hey, let's say they do set her up this way. Who that'd be a great character for Mando season 4 for Grogu and Din to kind of run into, right?
Definitely. It's like, look, you are like Grogu is this character that's trapped between both like these two worlds.
And he's definitely leaning more and more towards the Mando. Like he just got promoted, right? He is now Din Grogu. He's an apprentice. He's no longer a foundling. So he's committed to it. It would just be cool to see someone that's achieved. I mean, she's already full Mando.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Like if she can to be that like example of somebody who can walk in both worlds and potentially, open up that possibility to Grogu, because I do think that even though he is leaning heavily Mandalorian at this point, I don't even think he's leaning, like he's just a Mandalorian. He's not a Jedi.
He still has
like,
so much Force juice. It's hard to not want to tap into that.
Yeah, but I think that like if he could be shown, or even if like the greater populace of Mandalorians could be shown, like, hey, it is possible to walk in both worlds like Tar Vizsla did in this age with Sabine, then maybe he opens himself back up to training a little bit more in the Jedi ways.
Well, then that would screw the sequel trilogy, because if we had like a bunch of Mandalorian super Jedi commandos, there's no way the First Order and Hux and them are coming back to power.
Yeah. I mean, and here's the thing though, is like at this point, there's got to be another, like, I don't know how you get away with not having another like purge event, like, or something that happens prior to the sequel trilogy. Yep. Because
is it going to be Thrawn? Do you think Thrawn, like we talked about this, does he come back and number one is taking out the reestablished Mandalore? If
Thrawn,
or does he go for Mon first?
Thrawn? No, dude, if Thrawn is being Thrawn, he knows his biggest threat is the Mandalorians. Right. It's not even a question. In fact, he would come back to the galaxy and be like, oh, well, Mon Mothma's already done my job for me. She's demilitarized the entire New Republic.
Yeah, you're right.
So, like, don't even fuck with them. Like, they're already screwing themselves over. What my concern is this newly formed group of Mandalorians that are like reasserting themselves into the galaxy. I have to wipe them out. Which would explain why we didn't see any Mandalorian presence in Tross at the end. That's why we don't really have, like, there's no real threat to the First Order, because
I think you're on something then, where there's like because more or less Ahsoka is dying before the sequel trilogy. She is a voice in Tross speaking to Rey. I mean, I guess technically she could throw her voice like Rey and Kylo did, but I'm pretty sure it was meant to let us know that she had passed. And that would be a major victory for the remnant and soon to be First Order, would be taking out Ahsoka Tano, especially if she kind of, as we've speculated, is getting new breeds of Jedi out there in Sabine or through Huyang or even Luke's academy. All right. Next, full Ghost Crew reunion, obviously sans Kanan. I mean, I guess you could sub in his ghost or bring in the Loth Wolf. But I want to see them all together, Nick. Not some bullshit where it's like, oh yeah, Zeb was on that planet, and I want one shot where they're on the the bridge of the ghosts, and it's Zeb, Hera, Chopper, Sabine. You could throw Ahsoka in there, but I want to see them all together, same room, same ship at some point.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, we may not get it until, I mean, I don't know what's coming after Ahsoka. I mean, obviously we know that the Mandalorian's going to continue, but in terms of like Mandoverse development, we're really kind of unsure at this point. Like, all we know is that this is coming out. Will it have a second season or not? Who knows?
I mean, as we talked 2 weeks ago, technically the other planned Mandoverse show before Dave's movie was going to be Ahsoka 2. So Mando S4 Ahsoka 2, there was prerequisites in those to get done so he could then do the big movie. Yeah.
So if anything, I think it would be like full team back together Ahsoka season 2, because that's like Ahsoka season 2 and Mando season 4 have to be like
funneling
Mando
towards
season 4 is like
the death, right?
Yeah.
Like funneling towards the big showdown.
And like Mando season 4 is going to be like, okay, Thrawn is here. What do we do? Like just like figuring out like there's probably going to be more like New Republic, you have to get involved type of stuff, and like trying to pull together all of these disparate pieces
with
like
their fucking stun guns.
Yeah.
Set your turbo lasers to stun. Ion cannons only.
Yeah. Like, so pulling in New Republic, trying to pull in New Republic people, trying to pull in Mandalorians, because that's going to be a conversation. Because what do you say to the Mandos now? Like, okay, hey, I know we just set you guys back up on your home planet to help rebuild your society, but there is a literal galactic threat that's happening now. So you guys need to put that off and come help us. And then like, pulling in, like, can you get Boba Fett and his crew involved in this? Like, really trying to pull together, like, speaking to to Grief, and like, does he have contacts with the bounty hunters? Like, trying to get the pieces together. That's going to be Mando season 4, and then Ahsoka season 2 is going to be like, okay, we got everybody together. Let's try to like make something happen.
Start making your moves on the chessboard.
Yeah. And then you get your ass fucking kicked. And like, they're going to get destroyed. Like the Ghost Crew, that's when the Ghost Crew is going to come back together. They're going to make an offensive at Thrawn, and then Thrawn's going to beat them the fuck down. And then that is what's going to be the movie part of it, is like, holy shit, we just got our asses kicked. What do we do? And how do we deal with this? Like that to me, cause that's the end game of it, because that's like Infinity War is going to be Ahsoka season 2, they lose. Endgame is going to be his movie where like, we just got our ass kicked. How the fuck do we fix this?
Right. No, I'm down with that. And then they ultimately have to triumph, but I'm thinking Thrawn more or less decimates what the New Republic would have needed to continue rebuilding the galaxy. Thanks to Thrawn, he is kind of he comes in and fucks shit up so much that it's easy as hell for the First Order to just come in and kind of fill the void. Yeah, exactly. Like that hole is left open. I mean, his arrival, Nick, could be the wedge between Leia and the New Republic. I mean, it could be him coming back. She's like, let's fucking go. And they're like, no, let's go play patty cakes. And she flips some double bird, grabs her fucking rebel blockade runner and pieces off to start building the resistance.
Yeah. And I mean, and the thing is with this movie is going to be so interesting to see, like, who does Dave decide to use? Because realistically, unless he plays Thrawn super low key, where like they kind of like jump on him before he really makes like a big galactic wide splash, you got to imagine that like if he is like open in the galaxy and everybody knows, like Han Solo is going to be involved with Chewie, because like, of course he's going to come back. Like Luke Skywalker is going to be involved. Leia is going to be involved.
Nah, he's going to be feeling bad about himself that Grogu left. Remember, Luke has very strong emotional swings. So he might be bipolar. So he's probably like, oh man, the little guy left me. He didn't like me. He didn't like my green lightsaber. I'm just going to sit here and fucking feel sorry for myself.
Unless he takes like a true Eternals like kind of stance here, where like the Eternals were around for Endgame, but they were like, they got it.
Yeah, we're not allowed. Yeah, we're not allowed to mess with this shit, because that's what the story told us. we're not allowed to do.
But like if it's like a true like galaxy wide threat, everybody's coming, baby.
You would hope.
Like, what are you going to do? Is it going to be Alden as Han? Is it going to be like, are they going to try to do fucking DH, Harrison again? Like, how are you going to involve Luke Skywalker? Like, there's so many open questions to this like big crossover movie event, because you've already involved all of these characters. The only one that you haven't is Solo. So, I mean, it's going to be really interesting.
Okay, moving right along. Live action look at Ahsoka v. Vader, the big fight from Rebels. Even if it's just a flash that she sees in a nightmare or something like that, I want to see that in live action, because we we'd see Vader, we'd see Damage Vader, and we'd see one of the more memorable moments from Star Wars Rebels. It was a great little exchange. It's when she finally came to grips with, yes, that evil son of a bitch in the suit is my master. It would kind of make sense for the show to kind of set up like why she's a bit fucked with Anakin for the newcomers, if you will.
Yeah, and if we're taking the route of like the Force Ghost interaction with Anakin in this series is going to be like the first time it happens, like having her have flashbacks of like that split mask where it's like half of his burnt face and then half of the Vader mask, just like her seeing those like visions flash back into her would be like super powerful. And then like obviously something she would have to fight to get past with his Force Ghost form.
And there is MSW probably a year ago is like, hey, I don't know what series they're getting geared up for, but the Vader team was in action when Ahsoka was shooting. By team, I mean like Big Tom, the other guy, and I think Hayden himself. So there is a possibility. Okay, we got one here. A Bo-Katan check-in with Ahsoka later in the season if it's spread over time. Because, yeah, you're right. We've been told that Ahsoka is taking place during Mando S3, but we've also been told that Ahsoka itself may have a bit of a time jump. Where
exactly.
Early episodes kind of set up like, hey, we need to take care of this, and then there's a jump or whatever, and they take care of it. And that's where we get into like all the unknown galaxy, Purgil, Thrawn shit that we've been blabbing about.
Yeah. I mean, for me, this is something that I think should be addressed because, you know, at this point in the Mandoverse, I mean, Bo is as big of a character as everybody else. Like, she is the leader of the Mandalorian people. She has reestablished the ties between the Creed Mandos and the Bloodline Mandos. She's reestablished the planet of Mandalore as their home. And Ahsoka was the one that helped them defend that home, in season 7 of the Clone Wars.
Like, Bo hunted her down in a Pike prison.
Yeah.
To ask her this.
Yeah. So, I mean, these two have always kind of,
Bo slapped her ass the first
circles.
time they met. I've seen it. Like, I questioned Bat, and he found it for me. She legitimately slaps her ass in the Clone Wars.
So, I mean, I think that, like, because of how big of a player Bo-Katan has become and because of their history...
Yeah, well, dude, I mean, season 2, who gives Din the fucking Ahsoka lead? Bo-Katan.
Bo's like, hey, there's a Force
she knew right where she was. So,
out.
I mean, they're obviously still in connection. They're still in leagues with something. So, you're 100% correct from a pure character relation standpoint. Ahsoka really doesn't have many stronger bonds than she did with Bo-Katan. I mean, it just...
Exactly.
They've been friends since Ahsoka was a fucking teenager.
Yeah, since she was a kid. So... Yeah, no, I think that would be a really valuable check-in, and it also sets up like obviously everybody's got to be in contact with everybody before the big kind of come together moment. Yeah. So just establishing that connection early on would be good.
Hey, there you go, Bat. We got a request. Find the season and there he had it. Season 4. He'll find the episode, but he did. By the way, if you want to come play with us in between shows, we do have an open Discord. You should be able to get the link in our Instagram at StarWarsTime.show. Just grab that bio link. But yeah, no, it is a thing. Like they have a bond. It goes so far as like locker room antics, like ass patting and that type of shit. So it makes a ton of narrative sense. If anything, just Bo calling her up. Hey, girl. Guess what I just did with that guy you met? We finally retook Mandalore, got over my shit with the fucking Kool-Aid drinkers. I keep my helmet on a little bit more than I used to, but you know what? It's going all right. We're doing good. They follow me. Axe isn't trying to kill me anymore. We relit the Great Forge. Lots of cleaning to do, but hey, it was a good win. Hope you're doing all right. See ya.
She's like, once we clean up the mines of Mandalore, we'll have you over for a drink.
And our glass planet. Like, oh, by the way, we now have to live fully underground, but come by. It's a great place. All right.
Last one
is...
Are the Chiss involved with Thrawn? So this is something that I added like right when we had started, like when we got into the show a little bit. And it kind of goes back to what I was talking about before with Thrawn's involvement, like with the Empire, was always in his mind for the betterment of the Chiss ascendancy. Is, you know, like to really kind of like basically like win the war here for the Empire and then take the Empire's resources and win the war of against the Grisk for the Chiss. Now that he's been outside of the Empire, there's a couple things that we really need to figure out. Like, one, where did they end up? And two, how does he get back? And one of the big things that I talked about earlier in this podcast were the Skywalkers, the Force-sensitive Chiss that could navigate unknown regions of hyperspace through their Force connections. Is that how he gets back to known space? Because there's no other way for him to do that, at least as far as we know, unless he, you know, hops on the back of a Purrgil and finds his way back into known space. Like, does he somehow find his way back into the Chiss, like where the Chiss ascendancy is, gets resources from the Chiss, and then comes back? And that's how he comes back with Force. Because other than that, it really is him trying to find, like, lost fleets that potentially are out there, or zombie Force infused stormtroopers. But what would make the most sense to me is he somehow links back up with Chiss resources, gets himself a Chiss Skywalker that helps him come back to known space with resources from the Chiss ascendancy. I doubt that it'll happen, because, like, again, a lot of this lore is from like the new Thrawn books that are out there. I don't know if they're going to incorporate a lot of like novelization type of stuff, but I think that would be a way. Like, we're always trying to figure out, like, how the fuck does he get back? Like, that would be a way for him to get back. So.
Yeah, see, like, Chiss, Grisk, take a piss. This is where Nick just trumps me on any Star Wars knowledge. I know the Chiss are blue and they have red eyes. That's about it. So,
yep.
Here's one for B-Mad, Nick. Let's see what you say here. I want to know if Ghost Anakin will be present in certain meetings that Ahsoka is a part of, like a fly on a wall. I would assume in any master-apprentice bond or Force bond that they can. I would assume the ghosts can hear at all times, right? Like they're like kind of like Superman, where they hear everything. They have to kind of choose when to act or when to maybe say something to help their apprentice.
Where to tune into. Yeah. That would be interesting, because, I mean, here's a question about Force ghosts. Like, we've seen them so seldom, and they often only show up to like in the presence of like usually like a single Force user.
Right. And it's
like
always when the Force user kind of needs a nudge one way or the other.
Yeah. So like my question is, like, if Anakin, like if Ahsoka, Bo-Katan, you know, Din Djarin, Grogu, and all of like the big Mandoverse players are just like sitting in a room having a meeting, and Anakin pops up Force ghost form, can they see him? Like, can only Force users see Force ghosts? Like, are they only made visible to those that they choose?
Sure.
Like,
I think it's more like it would be passive. I think B-Mad, like, it's just passive. Like, he's just sitting there, like, all right, she's doing well. I'm going to move on, see what my buddy Luke's doing. Now I'm going to go check in on my little Leia. You know, he's like catching up. He's trying to be dad, just even more passive than he was when he was Darth Vader.
I mean, like, in that case, like the way that B-Mad's putting it, I could definitely see him like snooping in on this meeting, and then when it's over, like, kind of, you know, like just coming up separate to Ahsoka and being like, that's a terrible plan.
Yeah, like that, but not popping up going, you guys are all fucking stupid. Listen to me, I'm Force Ghost Anakin. Okay. Well, there you go. Those are our wants. We had a good amount, and what's even more fun is once the season airs, we'll come back and we will revisit all of these. We're not scared to make fun of ourselves or chalk up our losses. So not that, the fan wants, it's not as big of a loss as our predictions, but we will revisit these for sure. So make sure to tune in every week to the Star Wars Time Show on YouTube and podcast platforms. Okay. I think it is time, young Nick, for this episode's fan segment. Let me get a few things shifted around on the back end. We get decent responses today. People are digging. Pretty much anytime you ask a question about Anakin, you're going to get a little bit of action. He is kind of the guy, as they say. So this week's question, if you are new here, we do to end every episode, we hold a fan segment, and there's two segments within the segment. Question of the week, which gets posted to Instagram every Tuesday on our profile in our stories. I think it might even make its way to Twitter these days. And the top 5, which we'll be going through next. So, Nick, this week's question, I try to keep them somewhat centered around any discussion you and I may have. So I asked the fans, if Anakin appears in the Ahsoka series, do you want him in a flashback or as a Force ghost spying on people taking dumps? All right.
Let's look at everybody saying both. Yeah, I would have to. I have not looked at these, but I got it.
It kind of was. So there's a few stories I'll lead with, and I'll turn it over to you. Our boy Rippick __tan. Great photo today of Doc Ondor smoking a fucking fatty. Check him out. It was fun. I think it made today's reel, by the way. We do our daily reel features. Some people love them. Some people hate them. We keep doing them. Hit us up. StarWarsTime.show. All right, so Rippick had to say both. I want both. Both would make sense, especially after that recent Anakin audio in the trailer. Anakin is so essential to Ahsoka's life/story. I really think he'll appear both ways. As do I. All right. Guillaume.gh4. I remember Guillaume because one of the times where we butchered their name, they actually sent like an audio translation. I was like, well, that's very helpful. So it's Guillaume. Now I can't stop saying it. It's one of the, sometimes you get stuck on a word and you're like,
just a fun.
How did this become a word? Like sometimes I'll do it with my name, like Matt. It's a fucking Matt. Anyways, Guillaume.gh4. Clone Wars outfit flashback, please, oh please. Yeah.
It's a popular.
Yeah, we're talking Anakin in his maroons with his gunmetal shoulder pads and blue cape. It is quite the look. I would not be opposed to it either.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I hope we see it. Do I think we'll see it? I don't know, man. I don't know if they're gonna do it. Because if they do it, it would definitely be fan service, like specifically for the fan service. So,
but it makes a great looking hot toy, and I can't wait till Kenobi Clone Wars armor shows up because I do not have that one yet. But I got my Ahsoka, got my Anakin. Cad Bane showed up. Now that I have one arm, it's very hard to open hot toys, so they'll probably be sitting for a few weeks. Yay! Yay for breaking bones. Fucking idiot. All right, Guillaume, thank you. Digging it. Please, oh please. Oh, check this out. See, this is why you got to come to the Star Wars Time Show live stream. Bat has helped Jayod find the ass slap. And now we have an exact timestamp from J-O-D. Jay, how should I be saying your name here? J-O-D, Jayod, let me know. But yep, Season 4, Episode 14, 7 minutes, 45 seconds in. That's where you can find the Bo-Katan ass slap, which is probably not only sexual harassment, but borderline rape because Ahsoka is a teen and Bo is an adult. So there you go.
Yeah, it's definitely questionable.
Okay, next, I think we got one more story here. Oh, Mike
Unique. I don't know how to say his last name.
Yeah, I don't know. Mike Kasecki.
Kachecki?
Something like that. Mike Kachecki. Hey guys, I would like to see him as a Force ghost. It would be something new, plus I am a prequel fan, so whenever they bring Ahsoka into that era, something does not feel right for me. Congrats on the show. Well, thank you, Mike. And I get that, because remember, the whole prequel era took place
or like 3 years total.
Yeah, like
or something
literally,
like that. It was a very short amount of
yeah.
time.
We got episode 1, 2, and 3. The whole Clone Wars took place by the end of Revenge of the Sith, and there was no Ahsoka. And then she shows up a few years later in 2008. I was never that way. I always kind of, again, I was ready. It had been 3 years since I saw anything Star Wars. Like, all right, Star Wars movie, I'll go. I was down. She didn't really bother me. I liked her with the little baby hut she had to say. What was his name? Shithead.
Oh, Zero. It was Zero.
No, Zero's the one that stole it.
Child.
No, it's Jabba's. It's Jabba's kid.
It was Jabba's
Zero
kid.
fucked it. Either way, who cares?
I can't remember now. It was like a weird fucking. It sounded like a gross name.
Yeah. But I kind of understand what Mike is saying, but I also think if we do get Ahsoka in live action, that's going to close that loop. Like it
was Rada.
Yeah.
And Ahsoka called him Stinky.
There you go. Okay.
Rada the Hutt.
So I do think if we get a flashback and they're all in it live action style, that'll just cement Ahsoka even further into that era for people that didn't quite jump into the JOD. All right, got it. JOD. I like it. JOD. All right, Nick, I think the rest are for you. Yeah, there you go.
Indeed. I was also, quick update. If you were ever wondering who Rada's mom was, Rada did not have a mother because Hutts are hermaphroditic species.
Oh, no shit.
So
Jabba fucked himself.
Jabba gave birth to him, or to Stinky himself. So
see what happens when you let George Lucas have some time and some fun. Like, yeah, remember the Clone Wars started from George. He hired Dave to help him do it. So yeah, that's great. So, Jabba the Hutt fucked himself. Crazy. All right, okay.
Crazy. All right, so let's close out these responses. We got one here from Mythos Boba. He says, "Oosh. Well, the Kenobi flashbacks didn't work too well. If it's better than those, then yes. But if he looks old trying to be young, maybe the best route would just go with a Force ghost passing down knowledge and showing he is back to being a Jedi. So if they don't make him look good in a flashback, then don't do it. Keep him as old.
It's kind of like we said earlier. Don't go back to AOTC Anakin. Go to like pre-Rots where he's Anakin. Got the long hair. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, like, like season 7, season 6 Clone Wars Anakin, like that's fine, But definitely don't go back to like fucking Rat Tail AOTC. I mean, it also wouldn't make sense to go back to that Anakin
he was still
in
a
the series
himself,
anyway.
So. Yeah,
so because Ahsoka wasn't even.
Oh, I guess the other thing that got people beefed yesterday was that they were referring to Anakin as a master. Like, well, he was never a Jedi, but yeah, he wasn't a Jedi master.
He was Ahsoka's master.
He was Ahsoka's master, though. Like
Ahsoka always called her master. This has to be for people who have never watched Clone Wars, then, because she always called him master.
I know. Well, hey, it's again Star Wars, Nick. Here we are.
Yeah, it's very true. Okay. Nobody hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans. So,
except these two idiots.
All right. Next up, we got Johnny Osage Av, our good friend Johnny. He says, "Why not both? I think they will do a similar introduction of Anakin as they did in Kenobi. Perhaps if Sabine is having a hard time with an Ahsoka lesson, Ahsoka reflects on an Anakin lesson she struggled with. Super stoked for this series. May the Force be with you. May the Force be with you as well."
He makes sense. And that we've kind of put that out there too. I mean, any of these flashbacks are going to be kicked off from something that's happening in the present. Yeah. And I think this is a perfect scenario that our boy Johnny's bringing up. Like, and we saw it in the most recent trailer. Like, they are training. There is going to be frustration. There is contention between these two because Ahsoka left Sabine as her apprentice. So, I could see her having a rough session and going back and reflecting and maybe getting a flashback. Or, hey, he pops in and says, "Listen, you were the same way when I trained you, blah, blah, blah. Have some patience, yada, yada, yada. Kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya," that type of shit. So I'm down.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Good stuff. Thank you, Johnny. Next up, Mando Mugshots says, "I really don't care as long as the narrative is good and makes sense and doesn't change legacy characters. I can't wait for this show. Ahsoka is such a fan favorite. and beautifully written character who just proves Star Wars fans don't care what race or gender their heroes are.
Ooh,
they just want a good story. May the Force be with you.
I know what Mando's saying, but I got to disagree, because there's a lot of people out there that definitely have problem with race or gender in Star Wars, and there have been good Star Wars stories.
Yeah.
So
go back and just look at fan reaction to Reva. Like Reva got really kind of the Reva was so bad. Pre Kenobi coming out, like people, like it was so bad that like cast members, crew members,
Ewan had to get on social media like himself.
And be like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Like, we have a black female like lead villain, and y'all are losing your fucking mind.
Again, this was before the story was even revealed. It was just she's black and she's an Inquisitor. That's bad. So. Yeah,
and like, granted, after the show was over, like most people kind of like swayed towards, you know, liking Reva, liking the character, and liking Kenobi as a whole, aside from some of the questionable CG. Like, obviously that's still a contention point for a lot of people, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely a contingent of fans, and like I struggle to even call them fans at this point.
Well, I'm guessing Mando mugshots is younger too, because just go look at stories from 15 years ago from Ashley Eckstein and how she felt after the fan reaction to Ahsoka that apparently has now brought all Star Wars fans together. I mean, she was like, it wasn't as bad as Jar Jar, but she was taking it on the fucking chin when the movie came out. So I wish Star Wars fandom was like Mando mugshots was saying, but that's a Band-Aid over a big problem with some of the fan base. I mean, because they clearly have major issues with race and gender, 100%.
Yeah. So hopefully, I mean, fingers crossed, everything goes smoothly with this show, and there's no like ridiculous. Oh, dumb
dude, you know there's going to be some.
Backlash.
It happens every time. I mean, you just gotta wait. Just gotta wait for the day. It could very well be next Tuesday. But there will be one of these Ahsoka days, Ahsoka Wednesdays, where they come out and bitch and moan about something so fucking stupid. Like we said earlier, you got to wonder, these people that are always hateful, like, what type of life is that worth living? Like, why? What's going on with these people? Yeah, like there's got to be something very horrific happening in their own lives
they're like coping.
To try to make everyone else's lives shitty as well.
Yeah. So, all right, let's close out this fan question segment here. Last response is from Space Ace X _photos. He says, they say, color me greedy. I want both.
And we will call you and color you greedy, you son of a bitch. But yeah,
pick
pretty
one.
Sure we're getting both, and that definitely was the preferred choice from the fans on this question of the week.
Yeah, definitely. So good stuff there. Thank you to everybody who took time to respond to our question. And if you want to get involved in that segment in the future, make sure to follow us on Instagram at Star Wars Time.
That's right.
Show. That's how you do it. The .show. That's how you do it. So good stuff there. And that will kick us into our final segment of this show. That is the top 5 Star Wars fan artist features of the week. To get involved, again, make sure to follow us on Instagram at StarWarsTime.show and tag us in your Star Wars art.
Add tag, not just at Star Wars Time Show. Add tag. Because as he's going to explain right here, like I do the real features, and I try to collect from the hashtag, add tag, search. Top 5 is only coming from add tag.
Yep, that is me coming from add tag. So make sure you do that. Add tag at Star Wars
like
Time
a charm.
Show. I will.
We see it all.
It does.
We see it all.
I see it. I see it all. I see them all. I pick them. And I will say, just a heads up in this one, the last link was not able to be embedded.
I brought it up. I got you.
Yeah.
I got it.
That is like a setting that some people have on their Instagram profiles, I believe. It's like the certain access.
It's all right. We pulled it up in browser, so the artist will still be celebrated.
Indeed. So to kick off this week's top 5, we have an awesome shot.
This is fucking ridiculous, by the way.
It's insanely good. This is from @macro_brick_. So this is a Lego shot. And what we see is like, this is essentially the Star Destroyers. Yep. Like in my mind, this is the Star Destroyers that like Palpatine summons above Exegol. Sure. And I mean, it looks so so what you see is like 3 fully built Lego Star Destroyers. And just imagine that ending, like at the end of Tross, when all of these Star Destroyers lift off of the surface of Exegol to like take on the forces of the Resistance. That's what it looks like. There's the dark clouds everywhere with this one bright light that's just lighting up the scene, showing these Star Destroyers. Just truly incredible Lego photography done here by Matt. It's insane.
I mean, look at all the little white lights. I don't even know what the fuck that is. I don't know how you do that in post, because there's no way he sat there and was like ding 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 ding, or maybe they did with a pen and fucking put every window light on a Star Destroyer in there,
and they're so perfectly lined up too. Like
it's amazing. I mean, unless you look super closely, especially, obviously the one that's in the foreground, but if you look at the main subject, Star Destroyer, you can't even tell that's fucking Legos.
No. I mean, it's so well built. I mean, and Macro Brick calls out too. These are 3 official Lego Imperial Star Destroyer.
So these are like $800 sets, masterclass.
And this isn't. So this isn't him.
He did use Photoshop to create all the tiny windows.
Oh
Holy
my gosh,
shit.
dude! That is absolutely.
There's
insane.
supposed to be little tiny TIE fighters in the shot somewhere too.
Yeah, you can see
the
them.
3.
It's
the 3 little guys.
right under the nose of the one in the middle. Like.
This is, dude, and Lego photography doesn't do as well as the traditional, but shit like this is why I love Lego Star Wars photography. It's insane. I mean, this is like a shot from space with fucking 3 Lego Star Destroyers. It's amazing. So this is @macro_brick_. Kick-ass Lego photographer, always does practical effects. Always.
Beautiful stuff. I mean, and it's just insane that he made 3 of these and didn't just like use Photoshop to put 3 in the scene
it looks
after
like he hooked up with 2 other people.
Megapixel CZ
and Lucas CZ23 or something like that. Yeah. Who cares? Either way, he had a vision, executed. This is wall art. Like this is a wall hanger, 100%.
Yeah, beautiful stuff. So. Good stuff @macro_brick_ on Instagram. Next up, we have @Talon_illustrations. That's giving us an awesome. This is not a toy photography shot, as what most of our top 5 are, but this is an actual illustration of Jango Fett. And if you like scroll through the images, it's kind of different versions.
Yeah, the bloodied one is fucking killer.
The bloody one in the second spot, the full black and white in the third spot, and then the final one here is his inspiration, which was a toy photo shot from gtarts.fet. So basically what Talon Illustrations did was he
reverse engineering.
He saw this exactly, like he saw this awesome shot from gtarts.fet and was like, man, I really want to draw that. And it came out sick, man. I mean, this looks like some artwork that you would see in like Star Wars Vision Season 2.
Yeah.
Like some anime
like comic book quality.
It's
beautiful. It's kick-ass. Like this is another hanger. Like so far, Nick has chosen 2 wall hangers back to back.
It's just beautiful stuff @Talon_illustrations.
It almost makes me want to get the fucking Django hot toy now. I've been like avoiding it, but I'm gonna keep avoiding it. All right.
Yeah, just stay off the train. You don't need it.
No.
Next up, another buckethead shot. This one from @97_parsecs.
97 had some nasty shots this week. I don't know if you saw the Malgus one. Did you see the Malgus one where he's force choking Palpatine?
I didn't see that one, but now that I pulled up his page, I'm seeing it now, and like, yeah, that's pretty fucking sick, dude. Like, holy shit. Yeah. I mean, it's just insane how good 97
and consistent.
is. And
like this guy must shoot 30 hours a week. Like he he's got stuff for themed days. You know, have like a Witcher day, a Jurassic day, an indie day, a crossover day. Like Robert Day, 97 parsecs, literally is never short on content.
Yeah, all day Robert Day is taking photography.
Yeah, that
for
Malgus again.
instance.
It's like, damn it, I need that fucking figure now. Like dude, the KOTOR figures are hitting like the 12 inchers, or I'm sorry, the 6 inchers. I'm like, damn it. Now they're making
KOTOR.
Now they're making 112 scale. I mean, the Bastilla looks great.
I would say I've seen a lot.
The
of
Malgus looks great. Look at the Malik looks great. It's like shit. I picked the wrong time to quit Black Series, but I'm not going back.
Yeah, no, don't go back. And I've really been enjoying his.
I didn't say series. I said series.
I've really been enjoying his Jurassic stuff too, because I'm still deep into that Jurassic World Extinction Park Builder game, dude.
You know what I've moved on to? Like Diablo, I've fallen off. I can't do the grind anymore. Fucking Mario Golf.
Dude, I want to play that because I played the OG Mario Golf on like all the old consoles. Right. I love it. But the other game that I'm in now, which is what everybody's in, Baldur's Gate 3.
It's legit.
God, that game's so good.
PC or
it's
console?
So good. PC, I think it's PC only right now, but I think it's coming to consoles, and it's like obviously like big D&D fan. We have the D&D show for Star Wars. I have a D&D home game that I run as well. Like that is as close as you're gonna get to playing like D&D in a video game. Like
I have a feeling I would dig this.
So
I don't have a rig to run it. If it's I guess I could check the Steam Deck. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's fully Steam Deck compatible, but even if it's like, you know, if there's like some workarounds and shit, it's so worth it, dude. The experience is so deep in the character development.
I trust your opinion. I trust your gaming opinion. I just like D4 was great. It was a great summer game, but I'm just like, I don't care anymore. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
But Mario Golf has been really fun. I wish it was. I don't know if it's N64 or GameCube. That's the best Mario Golf.
64 was the one that I played to death. It was 64 golf and tennis. Okay. So
yeah, because I remember playing one in college. It was just like, I think it had to have been GameCube then. It's just like between that and Mario Kart Double Dash, that's all we would do. But the Mario Golf has been nice on Switch. It's the single player campaign. They force you into some really stupid fucking modes like speed golf. But it's still fun. I love a little golf video game. Just throw up and like some brain dead shit. All right, well there you get a little bonus video game recommendation segment at the end.
There you go. All right,
we got more art, right? We got more art.
We got more. Continuing the top 5, we got at Sunset_Doom. Sunset Doom has been a favorite of the Star Wars Time Show for a long time now. And it's because of shots like this. And this is one of the benefits of us using like posts now from the tag section is like you get to see kind of all of the different slides that people are putting in. And this one is just a really awesome shot of, I mean, which clone trooper is this?
Should be Jesse with that.
Jesse, yeah. With the logo right on his head. So you see Jesse kind of like making his way through a snowbound landscape. You can see the craft, the lander craft that he is exiting off in the background. Craggy mountain range, snow, making his way alone across the frozen tundra. And it's just like, it's such a cool shot, almost in like a menacing way. Like it looks like Jesse is like pissed and is really like
quit. It's like, I'm fucking going home. I'm out. Like,
yeah.
I've had enough.
Yeah. He's like, fuck this shit.
Well, according to Bad, this is knockoff Jesse. So maybe that's why.
Yeah. So the knockoff Jesse, but it just looks sick, man. Like the solo ride for Jesse, like he puts it, he gives a nice close up. He's holding something in his hand, but I can't really make it out. Is it like a stick grenade? Like it's so hard.
Yeah,
is
even,
it like
even
a
the close
beacon?
up, I can't even tell.
Yeah. But I don't know, man. It was just like, it's just one of those like kind of melancholy shots of a trooper making their way across like a lone landscape that just really stood out to me.
Oh, it truly is a knockoff Jesse. It's from AliExpress.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it is like a bootleg version. I that does ring a bell. I have seen some people buy some clones from this AliExpress. His gun.
Hey.
Yeah, you know what else I've noticed a lot, and this has been over probably a year or more, but a lot of the toy photographers have gotten really good at forced perspective using the micro Galaxy Squadron vehicles. Because if you notice,
and
like,
just like putting them in the
that thing's like a
background.
little tiny micro machine. That's the figure's probably bigger than that.
Yeah, you could see it. Yeah,
It's just they're just cool tricks, and that's why people like Sunset Doom that add the extra slides that kind of see the BTS. I mean, that's how I got into it, and that's how I improved my game. So you always got to check, always swipe on these shots if people give you that BTS.
Yeah, for sure. Good way to learn and up level your game. So at Sunset_Doom always puts out some quality work, so make sure to give them a follow. And then the final one, the one that we have to open separately because it didn't embed. This is at Paul Brown 12. Paul Brown's been in the top 5 before for sure, and he continues to make the top 5 with excellent shots like this Grievous. Mm-hmm. And this looks like it's a collaboration between him and Imperial_Troops_Optics potentially. I mean, so what we see here is a Grievous that is just like, again, like Grievous on the battlefield's always fun, and that's what we see. Grievous on the battlefield taking out stormtroopers, or not stormtroopers, taking out clone troopers. And in this one in particular, just like the way that Paul Brown did the post on the lightsaber, where you just see like the electricity running through the blade as he stabs it down into the clone trooper.
Well, he's like stabbing it through his hand, like the clone's like, no, it's going through his hand. But I also like how Grievous with his other 2 arms is holding up like a slab of rock.
Yeah, that's just like falling down on top of him. So he's like propping this rock up, stabbing this
superhero shot. Like
hand.
This is a General Grievous hero kill. I mean, he's flexing with all 4 arms, essentially.
Basically, yeah. I mean, just sick shot here from Sunset Doom. I love the use of the practical smoke and the bits of bokeh that he got in there as well. I don't know what he used to like set this scene, but it just looks awesome, like a shelled out, war-torn place.
I bet it's that fucking purple. It's not cardboard. It's like fucking insulation. It's like those purple insulation sheets. That's what all these people do. They get them, they paint them, they weather them up to make them look like this, and it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, good stuff. But yeah, I mean, Paul Brown 12 with his collaboration with Imperial Troops Optics, fucking killed this and well deserving of the top 5. So that's it. That's the end of the top 5. That's the end of our show for this week after our week off and after Matt's unfortunate spill.
What a dick. I'm such a dick.
We are back in the saddle, guys.
I'm going to have to figure something out because early on the show when I had my hat on and my pants on still, I was soaked. So I did most of the show in undies and no hat today because my arm is like, I essentially have swamp ass developing in my cripple arm right now, so I'm gonna have to figure out a way to keep that cool because I just took a shower before the show and it is not easy to shower right now. It's quite painful. Actually, it feels like my arm's gonna fall out of the socket at any moment. But now I'm soaked. I'm gonna have to like get hosed down again.
Yeah. Next week, you guys are going to see Matt on the camera. He's going to be no shirt. Going to be in a bathing suit.
I'm thinking letting the dirty old shit beard to grow out because I buzzed today too, and it's like this is too much effort. And I'm just going to wait 6 weeks, man. Fuck this shit. I'm an idiot. All right, it's time to put him to bed, right, Nick?
Indeed, time to put it to bed. Close us on out, Matt.
Do you hear my cats?
I can hear them kittens.
I'm down here. Jesus. That's because we were just gone for a week. So they think like if we leave a room, they're not going to see us again for 7 days. It's one of those things. Yeah. Hey, I brought someone here to visit you every day, you son of a bitch. All right. Here we go. As Nick said, we are putting E273 to bed. Here we go. Whoop-de-doo. Yippee-yahoo. You know what to do. Every time we end the show, go ahead and click on over to StarWarsTime.net. Or at least leave yourself a sticky note. Because if you liked what you listened to today or saw, if you joined the live stream, YouTube.com/StarWarsTime Show, you got to tell a friend. You got to tell a family member. You got to tell a pet. You got to tell somebody. And the easiest way to start selling this and to get them linked into the show is StarWarsTime.net. You go there, and these days you're not going to find a ton of content because the summer's been a bit dry and we're a bit lazy and bored when it comes to posting. Oh, hey, this has stopped production. This has started production. But you can find a bunch of handy-dandy, easy-to-use links to get keyed into the show, both on YouTube and on podcast platforms. So don't forget, StarWarsTime.net. Hit it. Grab the sub to podcast link. If you are a podcast listener and you've not done this yet, please leave a rating and review. Even if you aren't a podcast listener, go ahead and sub on Apple, or Spotify, Pandora, the big ones, and leave a rating and review for us. If you're a YouTuber, we love you. Come join the show. Tuesdays, 5 p. East at Star Wars Time Show on the channel. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, notifications, clips. I don't know if we have any clippable moments this week, but like you did 2 weeks ago, if you do find one, send it to me in Discord. And this time I will actually track it down. Last time you guys sent it a little too late. I was already traveling, so I was like, nah, fuck that. But if there were any clips, or Nick, if you remember the show, which you won't because I don't either, let me know. And I'll try to get a clip out tomorrow on Instagram, StarWarsTime.show. All right, my friends, as we always do, when we leave you on a Tuesday evening, we want to remind you that there is always time for Star Wars Time, first and foremost. And that if you do listen to the Star Wars Time Show, the Force will be with you always.